Y'all don't hear us. Pull up a seat and motherfucking listen. Pull up a seat and motherfucking listen.
Hey, pack your bag, time to go home.
Talking crazy on our soil where our blood and bones grown.
This our grind, we outside on it. While y'all fools on the outside looking, y'all show no respect to Black America, so leave. Hey,
y'all don't get it, so it's time to go home.
get the hell up out of America, take your digits, make it just fly on.
Y'all don't get it, so it's time to go home.
Get the hell up out of America, take your digits, make it just fly on.
You landed on the tarmac, fresh off the boat. Talking about y'all building nothing, man, you choking on the note. My ancestors the reason that this country even breathes. Picked the cotton, built the White House, planted the seed. Jim Crow laws, redlined the map, we was the target. You think that struggle's a costume, man, you can't mark it. We fought the wars, we bled the blood, we died for our future's chance. And you come here and give our legacy a side eye while throwing shade on the guard. Why you benefit from doors we kicked down with our last breath? Now you spit on the architects who stared down death. Disrespectful, that's disrespectful, ungrateful, a slap in the face to only people who gave a fuck. So let me show your ungrateful ass to the right place.
Pack your bags, time to go home.
Talking crazy on our soil where our blood and bones grown.
This our ground and we outside on it. While y'all fools on the outside looking, y'all show no respect to Black America, so leave.
Y'all don't get it, so it's time to go home.
Get the hell up out of America, take your dues and just fly on.
Y'all don't get it, so it's time to go home.
Get the hell up out of America, take your dues and just fly on.
Passport, the visa, the privilege to be here. Cause my grandma did march for y'all, so disappear from our land. You cosplaying our pain. Think it's a trend you can borrow, but you ain't inherit the ghosts of our sorrow. We the foundation, the bedrock, the soil, and the root. You not no branch on our tree, and unproductive people always cosplaying me.
Talking about we ain't do nothing, you lost your mind. We built this from nothing, time after time.
From the beginning to now, we been the backbone and muscle. Why you look down on the struggle and cause a whole tussle? The energy style with discussing is whack. So let's make it clear, there's no turning back.
This land is paid for in full.
In blood, sweat, and tears, and dreams deferred.
You don't get to come into a house we built from the dirt and telling Black America y'all ain't worth nothing. That's a violation, facts.
Pack your bags, time to go home.
This our soil, on our soil where our blood and bones grown.
Show respect, this our ground, y'all just tenants on a leash.
Or get the step.
Show no respect to Black America, so leave.
Don't get it, so it's time to go home.
Get the hell up out of America, taking your business, I can just fly on.
Don't get it, so it's time to go home.
Get the hell up out of America, taking your business, I can just fly on.
Yeah, fly little birdies.
Fly on back to where you came from.
This ain't for you, the cell is sacred.
We said what we said,
It's time
for y'all to go home. So fly a little birdies fly, so fly a little birdies fly, so fly a little birdies fly, far, far away from here. So fly a little birdies fly, so fly a little birdies fly, so fly a little birdies fly, far, far away from here. So fly a little birdies fly, so fly a little birdies fly, so fly a little birdies fly, far, far away from here. So fly a little birdies fly, so fly a little birdies fly, so fly a little birdies fly, far, far away from here. Bye bye little birds. They thought we forgot, but we never forget.
We built this land from dust and tears, 400 years, and we still here. They write new rules, but they don't see. Every freedom they got came off you and me. We planted seeds, they took the bloom. We lit the flame, they left the room. But we back now, no disguise. The spirits woke, we realize all we want is what we earn. That sweat and blood, yeah, that table turn. You can't buy culture, can't fake that fight. This is our day, this is our right. We LBA. Say it loud, say it strong. We the heartbeat that's been there all along. Foundational Black Americans, stand tall. We ain't begging for nothing, we built that all. Born from pain and grace, you can see the truth written in our face. We the soul, the sound, the fight, the flame. Foundational Black Americans, say our name. They love our rhythm, but they dodge our blues. Use our voice when it fits their news. They take our sound, but not our scars. We the backbone, we the scars. Now the veil is gone, the mask is clear. We see the game, we know what's here. No more silence, no more lies. We lift that flag and watch it rise. Rise up, rise up. We the ones that made this nation breathe. Our plains are power, our roots are trees. We know worlds. It's rhythm and grace now, and now we're reclaiming our rightful place. Can't copy courage, can't steal pay. You can't inherit so by changing names. Our story ain't done, it's the revival. We guard the gate, it's about survival. We FBA, say it proud, say it loud. The world dances on what we vow. Foundational Black Americans, still we stand.
Yeah, see, this is that bullshit.
Every block, every song, we've been right here all along. The soul of a people strong and free. Foundational Black Americans. We the first, we the root, we the fire. Still rising, still here. Foundational Black American.
We set the tone and they copy the cadence. Dance to our drums and deny the foundation. Wear the style but don't honor the source. Smile in the crowd and you distance and force. Say you not us but you rap like we breathe. Take the rhythm, then fuse the receipts. I ain't mad, I'm just holding the glass. Showing the mirror, now answer it back. I ain't here to cancel nobody. Just keep it honest, keep it solid. If you eat from the table we built, don't act surprised when we guard it. Do you like that? Do you like that? When I flip your sound and I ride like that. Do you like that? Do you like that? Do you like that? Cause that's how it feel when you borrow my culture. Then act like we never mattered. Hip-hop.
Mike Larry. Now this shit here is what see it is. We're not fighting your battles. We're not carrying your fear. We're not lending our history to people who erased us while we were here. Just cause you born here, don't make you FBA. That makes you a citizen, learn the difference today. This is lineage, not a look you can wear. Not a costume you borrow when it benefits you there. You used our culture like like an access card, backstage pass, a straight facade, but now the mirror's in your face. No disguise, and you're uncomfortable looking truth in the eyes. We didn't leave our land to beg for a chance. We stayed, we fought, we took every advance. That's the separation, that's the line you cross. We paid the price, you learned the cost. You waving your flag on our soil, but fighting not to go back home. Waving your flag on our soil, building comfort on a foundation you didn't know. We waving our flag, red, black, and gold. Stood our ground, never sold. You waving your flag on our soil, scared to build what you claim you love. Our humor, our style, the way we move, the smoothness, the sound, the things we prove. Music we birth, language we shape, innovation forged under constant escape. Warrior spirit means stay and defend, not flee your land and rewrite the end. You call it success, but don't confuse the two. East came after what we went through. You abandoned your land and called it strategy. You wave that flag loud, but won't return to build your legacy. That contradiction tells the story for you. You waving your flag on our soil, we're fighting not to go back home. We waving ours where we were forged, every inch earned, every brick known. We can't be deported, and that truth changes everything. We can't be deported, and that truth changes everything. We know who we are, and now we see who you are too. Just because y'all born here doesn't make you FBA at all. It makes you an American citizen. It's biologically impossible to be us, because it's a lineage, not some damn costume you can just put on to look cool. You immigrants and immigrant Americans has used our culture as an access card, a backstage pass to our culture. Now y'all have to look in the mirror. Our sense of humor, the aesthetics, mannerisms, the style of dress, the smoothness, the creativity, our genres of music, innovativeness, our slang, our warrior spirit by staying on our homeland and fighting and not fleeing to somebody else's land to beg for a better life and shit on the very people who fought to have us there. That's who we are. And we know who the hell y'all are waving your flag on our soil and fighting to make sure y'all don't go back.
You can't leech off our culture anymore. Beat it!
Mike Larry, man. You did it again. We really making history. Let's go.
Do you like that? Do you like that?
Flip your sound. How you like that? Do you like that? Do you like that? Say it loud, don't walk it back. Do you like that?
Do you like that?
You grew up mimicking us, now y'all switch it up. Turn the carbon copy, y'all ain't black, what the fuck? It's funny y'all connecting to our culture like it's Wi-Fi. Surfing on our waves of our culture, no more agua. Still in my culture for all these years. Look how time flies, all these colonizers in disguise. Y'all hate, y'all still hate us outside. Study dope, drip vampires, suck the blood of our guilt. They copy the flavor, sip the juice, love the results, hate the truth. Who? Do you like that? Do you like that? Do you like that? Flip your sound. How you like that? Do you like that? Democratic shields, talking points, the road they fill. Fish and chips, agent on the mic, judging FBAs, but ain't you half white? Talking like you one of us, we need a poo face. The agent type with a prune face, like 50 and Jim, it's a cold game. Throwing stones cause we build our own lane. I'm joking, kinda, but I mean, smile calm, pressure intact. Y'all proud where y'all from. Where they flag, beat they drum. But when it's us, tone switch fast. Same pride, but it's too much. FBA pride, lineage solid. You can't put this on, can't try it on. Built here, stayed and fought. That's the difference. That's the cop. Do you like that? Do you like that? Say it clear, don't twist the facts. Do you like that? Yeah. Do you like that? Do you like that? Point made. No edit. No care.
You know, erasing history is something that you have to do when it comes to conquest, domination, and destroying a people. If people knew who they were, what they were, and what they were capable of in the past, they will understand what they have a possibility or a likelihood of doing in the future.
Foundation of Black Americans, we've always had a culture of resistance. We cultivated a culture of resistance on this land, and we've been resisting ever since we've encountered European domination.
But nothing was really popping in Europe until the transatlantic slave trade, and that's where they amassed a lot of wealth.
One thing that I think is unique about our culture as far as how we resist, how we fight back, is just the environment we were put in from day one. Being only 13% of the population, the white supremacists were very meticulous about keeping that population at a certain amount.
There was never a period when we did not resist the encroachment of the white man.
They have a natural behavior of authority no matter where they go. That's why they'll step up in front of us in the line at the store. We're not important. They don't even see us.
We've never been able to excel. We've never been able to relax. We've never been able to just be, which means that existence is resistance.
It must be something in our DNA, our historical background, to when something doesn't sit right with us, especially spiritually, in our souls and in our spirit, we just say no.
We live resistance. You know, from the moment we're born, we're in resistance. And it's handed down generation to generation.
And so I think that cultural resistance is actually in our DNA, in our epigenetics, and then it blossoms out into the culture.
So there's almost nothing in America that we do, from song to dance to politics to the way we talk, the way we dress, having coded languages considered to be slang today. Everything about Black American culture is a form of resistance.
Of course, they want to always downplay our contributions to the global tapestry because they continue to act like our number one export in this country is not Black innovation.
Everyone understands that our resistance has been the cornerstone of what foundational Black Americans have always done. We are the life that breathes everything into this nation.
The further back you go, the further Black you go. It's just simple like that, brother.
All right. Go ahead, Shabaka.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced. The air date of this episode is March 31st, 2026. Okay, Brother Che has wrote up the show for tonight. Okay, and unfortunately, you know, I got appointments to make early tomorrow morning, so I'll try to stay as long as I can. Okay. Our preliminary data on my research for the slave ships: 35,000 crossings, 16th to 19th centuries, 36,000 voyages between 1514 to 1866. USA receiving ports were Charleston, South Carolina, Annapolis, Maryland, Mobile, Alabama, and New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yep.
All right, so therefore, you know, this is going to be an in-depth study. It's not going to be easy. Okay, the dumpster's up to his shenanigans again, you know, as we know. Okay, and I've been cussing out dumpsters on my like page, you know, all day, you know, to get my thought process together. You see what I'm saying? And
not going to be discussing him tonight, Shabaka. We're going to be on some historical endeavors pertaining to.
Okay.
But get out whatever you wanted to say so I can start the intro.
Okay, sure. Absolutely. Okay. One of our endeavors that Brother Chaz had been on historically was the Black Wall Street. Okay, Rosewood. Okay, the branding of slaves like they did cattle. The fugitive slave law that we have covered, over the years of doing this. And then, of course, how they viewed us as 3/5 of a human being. And I was arguing with some idiot on the 3/5 concept on my like page, and I've cussed out.
Shabaka,
Brother Chase. Yeah.
Did you get the itinerary?
Hold on. Yeah, this computer's acting up. Hold on, Brother Che. Hold on. Because see, I'm having problems getting in and out of my inbox. Okay, on this season 11, episode 28 of Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced, we'll be discussing several topics. One, they lied to you. Africa is not the real name of this land. The dark-skinned civilization that built Iran first, the Elamites, Buffalo soldiers fighting on two fronts, full documentary. A local USA Special America's first Black mountain man, Beccwourth, California. I believe that there was a California pioneer, James Beccwourth, and his legacy, mountain man, chief legend. And who was James Beccwourth? Charles Barkley said, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm just reading the itinerary for our audience, Brother Che. Charles Barkley says, immigrants build America. Okay. Now, Mr. Barkley, if you're out there, I appreciate your accomplishments on the NBA basketball courts and what have you. I watched you when I was younger as well. But Mr. Barkley, you are in very, very serious need of resurrection of the mental dead, sir. You got up there and said that slavery wasn't all that bad. Well, tell that to those who were branded, beaten with whips, okay, who were quartered. You see what I'm saying? And get back with me, Mr. Barkley. Now, I understand you're a public figure.
He knows the lineage. He know about all of that.
Yeah, right, but I'm just...
I'm to say this dumb shit.
What's his latest dumb shit? Brother Che.
Shabbat? Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I think it's because it's raining outside.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, so we're getting some of y'all's rain. Okay, we're going to have light rain tonight and tomorrow, and it's windy.
California. There's a big old system that's hitting California right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe the ancestors are tired of gruesome Newsom.
It stretches all the way from Hawaii to California, all the way to Denver.
Damn. I'm wondering if that's weather manipulation, man.
It could be, but it looks like a river of rain.
Yeah, okay. And you know they're going to launch that spaceship tomorrow.
Yeah, get that out now so I can get to these documentaries.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, start the documentaries.
I got to finish the introduction.
Okay.
So Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced is based on the 50th anniversary of the founding of the original Blacc Panther Party for self-defense. We started on Blogtalk Radio back in 2016 and have been around for 11 seasons now. Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced covers the Black experience from the beginning of time until 10 minutes ago. It is also part of the Frontline campaign and has recently, within the last 2 years, moved from Blogtalk Radio to Streamyard. Please make sure y'all like and share the broadcast, family. Please join us on Streamyard, YouTube, Frontline Black News. The links to all of our channels are in the description, including Frontline Black News. Frontline Black News 2, the backup channel. Make sure you're sub to that. Just because they try to take Frontline Black News down again. We have backup. Then we have my personal page, which I was just streaming on with Jesse Paris, aka Chan Kruma. where we stream all the city council and local Denver Black and rural Black events. So make sure y'all sub up to that. And then we got Lady Chay's other channel, Seduction Doll. Make sure y'all sub up to that so she can start going live on that channel. And then her main channel, The Revolutionary Agenda, which she was planning on doing yesterday, but something came up where she wasn't able to do that. So she might be able to do one sometime this week. Oh yeah, tomorrow's her birthday too. So happy C-Day to Lady Chay. Early C-Day.
Okay. Happy birthday.
Got Shabaka'S YouTube channel, Janet1. Make sure I sub up to that so he can start going live on that. Then we got our cousin, our Lokester, Jay Militant, who was live the other day. What's Cracking TV with Jay Militant. Make sure I sub up to his channel as well. And then we got our brother Kukizi out the Mile High, who's like one of the dopest MCs out of Denver. Make sure I sub up to his channel, Kukizi 5100. He usually does the intro track for Frontline Black News when we're on the paid subscription. Then we got our brother Breeze Omega out of VA, Virginia, by way of New York. He was live, yesterday? Did a real good live yesterday, so make sure y'all sub up to him. He just surpassed 1,000 subscribers. Then we got our brother Church of Black Power, who was live earlier, or he might still be live. Our brother out of Watts, California, who's now in Houston, Texas. The link to his channel is also in the description. He just surpassed 2,000 subscribers. He's on his way to 3,000. And then we got our brother, our young brother Black Truth United, came up with the B1 Rolodex, which is the modern day green book for FBA and B1 businesses alike. And the links to submit your business are in the description. Then we got the petition to counsel the Congressional Black Caucus and create a foundational Black American caucus. Then we got the Kickstarter for Hidden Color 6, which I just played the trailer for, which 19 fleas will be removed and will not be a part of. Then we got Lady Chay's GoFundMe. Make sure y'all sub to her GoFundMe. So my neighbor is arguing with somebody. 107 or 103-year-old elders GoFundMe. The elder from South Central Los Angeles. She's on the verge of losing her home of almost 40 years. So the GoFundMe for that is in the description. Then we got a copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. And I do not own the rights to the music. And if you don't understand racism, white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else you think you understand will only confuse you. In all 9 or 10 areas of human or people activity, and that is economics, that is education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, and some say health and nutrition. In all 9 or 10 areas of human or people activity, and that was by our elder, Mr. Nellie Fuller Jr., who transitioned exactly a year ago at the age of 95, ProduceJustice.com. And when you a Black person that captured by you must never fuss, fight, or flee. Comply and defend yourself in court. Also by our elder, Mr. Nellie Fuller Jr., who transitioned exactly, our ancestor, who transitioned exactly a year ago at the age of 95, ProduceJustice.com. And when you, and last but certainly not least, we got racism, white supremacy. It's conscious and subconscious behavior to maintain white genetic survival, to prevent white genetic annihilation. And that was by our elder, our master teacher, now ancestor, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who transitioned exactly 10 years ago at the age of 80. And she would have been 90 as of last week or the week before last. So big rest in power to her. She came up with the ISIS papers, the colors of the code. So make sure y'all check that out. The link to her book, The ISIS Papers, is in the description. So those are the topics Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button. All right, we got Twin in the building, and then we got Mac. So let's go with the first one about a Keebalon.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I gotta find the tab.
Okay, and I prefer to refer to it as a Keebalon because, as we know, Africa was some Greek dude named Africanus, I believe.
Yeah, Scorpio,
Yeah.
Africanus.
Yeah.
Peace.
The name Africa is not the true name of this land. And by the time you finish this, you will feel it. Not just know it, feel it in your chest. Because this is not a history lesson. This is a reckoning. This land, the oldest land on the face of this earth, had a name before Rome existed. Had a name before Greece was a civilization. Had a name when the rest of the world was still figuring out how to survive. And that name was taken, quietly, systematically, with full intention. But before we get to that name, and we will get there, and when we do, you will understand why it matters so much. You need to walk through what was here first. Because the name is just the surface. Underneath it is an entire world that most people have never been shown. Let us go back, all the way back, to when this land spoke for itself. This land was never one thing. That is the first truth most people miss. When people say Africa, they imagine one place, one culture, one story. But this land was a universe, a collection of civilizations so layered, so complex, so deeply developed that even now, with all our modern tools and technology, historians are still uncovering things that rewrite everything we thought we knew. There were people on this land who built in stone while others were building in mud. There were people here who mapped the movements of stars with accuracy that modern scientists have confirmed. There were trade systems here connecting the interior of this continent to the coasts of Arabia, India, and China, not hundreds of years ago, but thousands. There were legal systems, spiritual philosophies, medical practices, architectural techniques, and agricultural methods that were so advanced they became the foundation upon which other civilizations built their greatness. And all of it was happening here, on this land, long before the word Africa was ever spoken. In the ancient north, along the edges where this land meets the Mediterranean Sea, lived a people called the Numidians. And if you do not know the Numidians, you need to stop and learn, because these people were extraordinary in a way that history has deliberately understated. The Numidians were horsemen unlike anything the ancient world had ever seen. They rode without saddles, without bridles, guiding their horses with nothing but their knees and their will. They were fast, unpredictable, and devastating in battle. When the great Carthaginian general Hannibal crossed the Alps and brought Rome to its knees, it was Numidian cavalry at his side doing some of the most critical damage. Rome, the Rome that conquered most of the known world, had to fight hard against the Numidians. Their king, Jugurtha, ran a guerrilla campaign against Rome that lasted years and humiliated Roman generals one after another. The Roman Senate was so frustrated, so embarrassed, that they reportedly said this war was draining them in ways no other enemy had. A man from this land made the most powerful empire on earth look foolish. The Numidians did not call themselves Africans. They were of this land, with their own name, their own identity, their own pride. Then there was Carthage. If the Numidians made Rome nervous, Carthage made Rome existential. Carthage was not just a city, it was a power, a maritime empire built by people who mastered the sea in ways that gave them control over trade routes across the entire Western Mediterranean. Carthage had wealth, military strength, a sophisticated government, and a reach that extended into Spain, Sardinia, and deep into this continent. Rome fought Carthage 3 times, 3 massive, bloody, prolonged wars, and even after winning, Rome was not satisfied with simply defeating Carthage. They burned it. They tore down every wall, every building, every structure. There is historical debate about whether they literally salted the earth afterward, but the intent was clear. Rome did not just want to defeat Carthage, Rome wanted to erase it, wanted to make sure that nothing, not a stone, not a memory, not an idea would rise from that ground again. That is how much Carthage threatened them. When your enemy has to destroy every trace of you to feel safe, that is not weakness. That is a testament to how powerful you were. Further south, there was Nubia, also known as Kush, a civilization that in many ways was older and deeper than Egypt itself. Nubia had pyramids, more pyramids than Egypt, sharper pyramids, built with a precision that still puzzles engineers today. Nubia produced gold, enormous quantities of gold that flowed north into Egypt and beyond. But Nubia was not Egypt's servant. Nubia was Egypt's equal, and at certain points in history, Nubia was Egypt's ruler. The 25th dynasty of Egypt, the pharaohs who sat on the most famous throne in the ancient world, were Nubian, dark-skinned kings from the south who came north and governed one of the greatest civilizations in human history. Nubia was the spine of the ancient world, the backbone that held everything upright. And yet, in most of the history books given to students around the world, Nubia gets a paragraph, maybe 2. And then the ancient world spoke of the Ethiopians, not as a single modern nation, but as a broad description of the people of this continent used by the Greeks. The Greek word meant burnt-faced people, and it was not used as an insult. It was used with reverence. Homer, the greatest poet of the ancient Greek world, wrote about the Ethiopians. He described them as a people so righteous, so noble, so beloved that the gods of Olympus themselves would come down to feast among them. The gods left heaven to eat with the people of this land. That is what Homer wrote. That is what the ancient Greeks believed about the people of this continent. Even in their admiration, the outside world could see what lived here. And the Moors, who came later in history but carried the ancient flame forward, crossed into Europe in the 700s and built a civilization in Spain that made everything around it look primitive. Libraries with hundreds of thousands of books, hospitals, paved roads, street lighting in cities when the rest of Europe was living in darkness, literal darkness, burning torches at night while Moorish cities had lit streets. The Moors brought algebra into Europe, brought advanced medicine, astronomy, philosophy. Europe did not enter its Renaissance by accident. It entered its Renaissance after centuries of contact with the Moors, after absorbing, copying, and learning from the people of this land. This is what was here. This is who was here. Now let's talk about the name, the word Africa. Where did it come from? Who gave it? And what does it actually mean? Because this is where the story stops being just history and starts being something personal, something that should make you angry. Not the kind of anger that destroys, but the kind of anger that wakes you up. The Romans used the term Africa first to describe one single province, one Roman-controlled region in what is now northern Tunisia. Just one area, not the whole continent, not the vast, ancient, enormous landmass stretching from the Mediterranean down to the Cape, just a province, a piece of conquered territory that Rome named for administrative convenience. But over time, as European powers extended their reach and their maps across more and more of this land, they stretched that provincial label across the entire continent. One colonial label dragged across millions of miles of ancient civilization until it covered everything. And the people living here, generation after generation, through slavery, through colonization, through forced schooling and cultural destruction,
were taught to use that name, were taught to call their home by the name their conquerors gave it. But where exactly did the Romans get the word? This is where we slow down, because this part matters. The ancient Greek word Afrique is one of the most cited etymological roots of the name Africa. And when you look at what it actually means, not the surface meaning, but the full meaning, something uncomfortable rises to the surface. Afrique breaks down like this. The ancient Greek prefix a in ancient Greek means without, an absence, a negation, the removal of something. The root word frike, and this is the part that most people have never been told, means cold, but it also means horror. Cold and horror, the same word. In ancient Greek, these two things lived together in one concept. So, Afrique, the word being translated as the possible origin of Africa, means without cold, but it also means without horror. A land free of cold, a land free of horror, a place where the harsh, freezing, brutal winters of Europe did not reach, a place where the thing that made European life hard, the biting cold, the horror of winter, the death that came with frost, simply did not exist. Now, pause there. Think about what that reveals. The people naming this land were naming it from their own experience, from their own fear. They looked at this continent and they described it by what it lacked, from their perspective, the cold they dreaded, the horror of their own winters. They named this land by their absence, not by its presence. They did not name it for what this land was. They named it for what it was not, compared to them. This is one of the oldest tricks of colonization, and it was baked into the very name before colonization even became a formal system. You erase the identity of a place by describing it only in relation to yourself. You make your experience the standard, and everything else becomes a variation of you, or an absence of you. Without cold, without horror, as if the greatest land on earth needed to be described by the absence of a European problem, as if the mother of mankind could be reduced to the place where our winters don't happen. And yet, and this is what breaks you open if you sit with it long enough, even in that diminished outsider description, the truth leaked through. Without horror, without the horror. Because this land was not horror. This land was life. This land was the beginning of life. While Europe was shivering through its dark ages, while people were dying of plagues and famines and living in fear of their own winters, this land was warm. This land was growing. This land was building. Even the Greeks, even the Romans, even the people who eventually came to exploit this continent, even they, in the act of naming it, admitted something, that there was no horror here, that this place existed outside the darkness that defined their own world. They just could not bring themselves to say what it actually was, so they said what it was not. And that not quite truth became the name the entire world uses today. But the people of this land did not need the Greeks to tell them they had no horror. They already knew what they had. They already had a name for it, a name that did not describe them in relation to someone else, a name that described them exactly as they were, in their own voice, in their own language, from their own understanding of who they were and what this land meant. That name is Al-Kebulan. Al-Kebulan. Say it. Let it land. Al-Kebulan. This is the name recorded by ancient scholars. This is the name used by the Moors, documented in historical texts. This is the name that existed, breathing and alive, long before Rome built its first road, long before Greece held its first Olympic Games, long before any outside power had the audacity to plant a flag in soil that was never theirs. Al-Kebulan. And its meaning is not a description of weather. It is not a comment on temperature. It is not an outsider looking in and noting what is absent. Its meaning is Mother of Mankind. Some translations say Garden of Eden. Both of them point to the same truth. This land knew it was the origin. It knew it was the source. The first humans walked here. The first families grew here. The first societies, the first spiritual understanding of the world, the first attempt to make meaning out of existence, all of it began here. And so the people of this land called it what it was, not without horror, not sunny, not a province on a Roman map, the mother of mankind. The weight of that should hit you. On one side, you have an outside name, Africa, rooted in a Greek word that describes this land as a place without cold, without horror, a description that centers the experience of outsiders, that names this land by what Europeans did not have to suffer here. On the other side, you have the original name, Al-Kebulan, which describes this land as the mother of all humanity, the garden, the beginning, the source of everything that came after. One name is about absence, the other is about everything. One name looks at this land from the outside and describes what is missing from the European experience. The other name looks at this land from within and describes what it gave to the entire world. This is not a small difference. This is not a debate about linguistics. This is the difference between a stolen identity and a true one, between a label placed on you by someone who conquered you and a name given to you by the ancestors who built you. And this is what was deliberately buried, because it was not an accident that Al-Kebulan disappeared from common knowledge. It was not a coincidence that the children of this land grew up learning the name their colonizers gave them and nothing else. It was a system, a long, sustained, brutal system designed to sever the people of this land from their own story. Schools were built here that punished children for speaking their own languages. Missionaries came and told people their spiritual practices, practices older than Christianity, older than Islam, older than any organized religion in the Western world, were evil. Libraries were burned. Oral traditions were mocked. Elders who carried the memory were sidelined and disrespected. And with every generation, the distance between the people of this land and the name Al-Kebulan grew wider. With every generation, children were born who had never heard the word, who had never been told that their homeland had a name before the colonizers came, who grew up believing the story started when outsiders arrived, as though everything before that was darkness and waiting. That is the real horror, not the Greek phrike, not cold weather. The real horror is what was done to a people's memory. But the name survived. It survived because truth is stubborn, because somewhere in every generation there are people who refuse to let go. Historians, elders, scholars, ordinary people who felt something wrong in the version of history they were given and kept digging until they found what was real. The name Al-Kebulan survived in manuscripts, in the writings of Muslim scholars who documented the ancient traditions of this continent, in the work of historians like Yosef ben Yohanan, who dedicated his entire life to recovering what was taken, who sat in libraries and archives and dug through centuries of buried truth to give it back to the people it belonged to. The name survived because the people of this land survived, and as long as they are here, the truth is here. So now you are here, watching this, and you know something that most people who use the word Africa every single day do not know. You know that the Greeks described this land as without cold, without horror, and that even in that diminished outside description, they could not hide the fact that this land was a place of life, not death, of warmth, not suffering, of greatness, not absence. You know that the Latin roots pointed to sun and warmth, that even Rome, which burned Carthage, which enslaved the people of this land, could not name it without acknowledging its light. The Numidians made Rome bleed, that Carthage forced 3 wars before it fell, that Nubia ruled Egypt, that the ancient Greeks said the gods came down to feast among the people of this land. And you know that none of those people, not the Numidians, not the Carthaginians, not the Nubians, not the Moors, none of them called their home Africa. They called it Al-Kebulan, mother of mankind, Garden of Eden, the origin, the beginning, the source of everything that came after. This land did not need outsiders to give it meaning. It already had meaning, ancient, deep, unshakable meaning, long before any foreign tongue tried to wrap itself around its identity. The cold and horror that the Greeks feared in their own winters, this land never had it, not because it was lucky, but because this land was built differently, because the people who came from here were built differently, because something about this soil, this sky, this ancient ground produces a kind of human being that the rest of the world has spent centuries trying to either copy, suppress, or destroy, because it could not be ignored. The mother of mankind does not apologize for what she produced, and neither should her children. If this reached something in you, if something in your chest shifted while watching this, then do not let it stop here. Subscribe
to Frontline Black News. All right, Shabaka. What are your thoughts on that beautiful documentary about Al-Kebulan?
Yeah, exactly. You know, hey, Africa is the cradle of civilization, man. You know what I'm saying? We was here first, and then you get all these damn imposters. You see what I'm saying? You know, trying to hijack our culture for them. You know what I mean? And I was arguing with idiots, you know, on the like page about that, man. I think I had to wind up blocking about 27 of those idiots, you know what I'm saying? Because you know, like how they come to you with that bullshit to get your page tore down. So instead of me arguing with them, I get my point across, then I block them, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And one which was really foul, saying that, you know, some of the biscuits going to get up there and say that it's something that colored folk don't do, is go fill out job applications. And me personally, man, I wanted to put my foot in his ass. You see what I mean?
Yeah, that's some disrespectful ass shit.
No, oh, absolutely. Then, of course, I reported it, and what did the old fuck book say? Oh, they didn't violate community standards. You know?
And we're the only reason why we have OSHA laws in this country. But this chocolate guy got the audacity to tell us, say we don't job applications when we're the reason why there is a damn job application.
Yeah, right. You see, but then, Brother Chase, you know, man, you're gonna come to the point, man, where you're not even gonna waste energy dealing with idiots like that, because really they don't know any better. And the sad part about these brain dead motherfuckers, they don't want to know any better.
Nope, they're content with being ignorant.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely. You know what I'm saying? Just like when them ponies
God damn it,
play the Raiders,
Gators, and
the Raiders lose, I would be a fucking idiot to say that the Raiders won when in actuality they lost. And Raiders, like get out of town or change your fucking name. You see?
Nobody wants them, Shabaka.
I see why. You know what I'm saying? Boy, Al Davis is probably turning over in his grave, man.
Yeah.
You know, to see his great, beautiful machine, you know, go straight down, man, you know, to shredder paper. You know?
You talking about his ugly monster?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so the original name of Africa is Alkebulan.
Alkebulan, right. Mm-hmm.
Garden of Eden, or the civilization, birthplace of civilization.
Right.
Is that
then of course as we as you and I have discussed, it's the only continent that is cemented, to the core of the earth.
Yeah, it's the only continent that doesn't move.
Yeah, exactly.
All the other continents, all the other plates move around it.
Yeah, you say. And then you have those, these OTBs, feel that they have a right to come help themselves to our shit. You see what I'm saying? And then they got their brain dead puppets up in there, man. You know what I'm saying? I was arguing with one of them idiots today. You should have saw this fool, Che, talking about Donald Trump is the best president that America's ever had. So what I told this brain dead, I told this brain dead bastard, I said, look, man, you need to quit drinking that rotten gut and you need to quit fucking with that dope.
Yeah.
Because something is fucking with your head real bad, man. You know what I'm saying? And the sad part about it is, although I'm laughing, but it is quite sad. Okay, Brother Che. Okay, Michael is asking me for my email address. Okay. Okay, would you please give it to him, but not on the Streamyard.
Right. Yeah, I can email it to him.
Okay. Yeah, because we got I believe with the Streamyard get up, man, based on where it's headquartered at in Tualatin, Oregon, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm quite sure there's some saboteurs in there. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't put nothing past them.
Exactly. And come on up, Michael, if you can.
I mean, if he comes up, I can just drop it in the private chat.
Right.
All right, let me drop the link for him.
Yeah. And then also too, the latest on Tiger Woods.
Share the link out, Shabaka.
Huh?
Share the link out.
Oh, okay. The Streamyard link.
No, the link to the show.
Okay, got you. Okay, all right.
You can't send. I guess you could send out the Streamyard link, but I got like 3 more clips to play.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm copying and pasting now. Okay.
So that was the history of Alkebulan.
Mm-hmm. And then also too, we got to do a show on Queen Amina. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're gonna go to the Northeast Africa. All right, Northeast Alkebulan.
Okay, so that there would be Kemet.
No, Northeast.
Yeah, Northeast would be Kemet, Brother Tay. Wait a minute.
No, Northeast would be
like a retreat. Okay.
Which is not
Iran. Okay.
So, dark skin civilization that built Iran first.
Okay. Okay.
When people think of ancient Iran, they immediately say Persia, Cyrus the Great,
Darius,
Persepolis. And those are real and important, but they stand on a foundation that was already thousands of years old. When the Persians arrived, that foundation is Elamite.
The land you now call Iran is one of the oldest pieces of ground human feet have ever walked on. Long before the name Persia was ever spoken, Long before any king called himself the King of Kings, there was a people living in the valleys and mountains of that plateau who built cities, wrote laws, cast metal statues, raised ziggurats toward the sky, and ran one of the most powerful civilizations the ancient world ever produced. These people were dark-skinned. They were the Elamites, and almost nobody talks about them. Their story begins around 7,000 years ago, not 500 years ago, not 2,000 years ago. 7,000 years ago, communities were already taking root in the southwestern part of what is now Iran, in a lowland plain watered by rivers, flanked by the Zagros Mountains to the north and east. The land was fertile, the rivers ran strong, and the people who settled there began doing something that separates a settlement from a civilization. They started building.
When I first encountered Elamite history as a student, I went back to my professor and said, why was this not in any of my textbooks? He did not have a good answer. And that told me everything.
By around 4000 BC, a city had risen from that plain. Its name was Susa. And Susa was not a small village or a collection of tents. It was a real city with streets, temples, administration, trade, and art. The UNESCO World Heritage Committee, which recognized Susa as a World Heritage Site, noted that it contains 27 layers of superimposed urban settlements built one on top of the other across continuous centuries. 27 layers, each one a generation of people who lived, built, worked, died, and left their world behind for the next generation to build on top of. That is not a camp. That is not a temporary settlement. That is a civilization with deep roots and a long heartbeat. The people who built Susa called themselves the Haltami. The Sumerians called them Elamites, and that is the name that stuck in history. Their language was something completely unique. Scholars have studied it for over a century and cannot find another language anywhere on Earth that it comes from or connects to. It belongs to no known language family. It stands alone. This means the Elamites were not a branch of another people who moved in and took over. They were original. They were there first. The ancient land was theirs. Now here is what most people do not know. When you look at the ancient artistic record from this region, the glazed brick reliefs, the carved stelae, the bronze statues, the Elamites are depicted with dark features. The famous glazed brick panels from the Persian period at Susa show the Elamite guards and soldiers with tightly curled dark hair and strong dark features. Susa itself sat in the lowlands near where the Zagros Mountains met the Mesopotamian plain, in a region of intense sun and ancient indigenous population. The 2016 genetic study titled The Genetics of an Early Neolithic Pastoralist from the Zagros, Iran, found that an ancient woman from the Zagros region carried dark hair and dark features, with none of the genetic markers associated with lighter pigmentation. These were the deep-rooted people of that land, not newcomers, not migrants from cooler regions, the original inhabitants of what became one of the greatest civilizations the ancient Near East ever produced. By 2700 BC, the Elamites had kings. Their civilization spread across the Iranian plateau, their capital at Susa serving as the beating heart of their political and cultural world. Susa sat in a strategically brilliant position. It was the crossing point between the civilizations of Mesopotamia to the west and the Iranian plateau to the east. Trade routes from every direction converged on this city. Caravans from Babylon, from from the Indus Valley in modern Pakistan, from the mountains of Central Asia, they all passed through or near Susa. Elamite merchants knew what was moving across the ancient world before anyone else did. And Elamite kings sat at the center of that web, growing wealthy and powerful. The Elamites were not passive people sitting on the edge of history. They were aggressive, ambitious, and capable of striking at the most powerful empires on Earth. Around 2004 BC, an Elamite army marched into Mesopotamia and did something that sent shockwaves across the entire known world. They sacked Ur, the great city of Ur. At that time, Ur was arguably the most important city on Earth, a towering center of religion, administration, and power in Mesopotamia. Its famous ziggurat, built for the moon god Nana, rose above the plains like a mountain of human ambition, and the Elamites walked in and broke it. The sacking of Ur was so catastrophic and so memorable that Mesopotamian scribes wrote a long lament about it, the lament for the destruction of Ur, one of the most emotional literary pieces to survive from the ancient world. The Elamites forced the author of that lament to pick up their pen. That is what power looks like. But the Elamites were not just warriors, they were builders. Around 1250 BC, during the Middle Elamite period, a king named Untash-Napirisha sat on the throne of Elam. He was one of the most ambitious rulers his civilization ever produced. He held the title King of Anshan and Susa, which meant he controlled both the highland city of Anshan and the lowland capital of Susa, the two heartlands of Elamite civilization, in one royal hand. Under his reign, the Elamite Empire entered what historians call a golden age. He built temples, he commissioned sacred complexes, he deepened the religious framework of his kingdom, and in a move of extraordinary architectural ambition, he founded an entirely new city dedicated to the gods, a sacred center called Dur Untash, which we know today as Choga Zanbil. At the center of this city, he raised a ziggurat, not a small one, a massive, multi-tiered, sun-baked brick tower rising over 50 meters toward the sky, so well preserved that it still stands today, 4,000 years after it was built, one of the best preserved ancient ziggurats in the entire world. UNESCO recognized it as a World Heritage Site. It sits in the dry plains of modern Iran, older than Rome, older than Athens, older than the Greek Olympic Games, built by a dark-skinned Elamite king who wanted his gods to be honored in a way that outlasted time. He succeeded.
We have a responsibility to tell this story accurately. Elam is not a footnote to Persian history. It is Persian history's ancestor. Without the Elamites, the Persians build in mud. With the Elamites, they build Persepolis.
During the same golden age, a remarkable woman entered the historical record. Her name was Napir Asu. She was the queen of Elam, wife of Untash-Napirisha, and she left behind something that no other woman in the ancient world had left before her. A life-size bronze statue. Not a small votive figurine, not a symbolic marker, a full life-size bronze and copper statue, 130 centimeters tall, weighing over 1,700 kilograms. It was found by French archaeologists in Susa, inside a temple. The craftsmanship is extraordinary. Elamite metalworkers cast it in 2 stages. First, an outer copper shell, about 3 centimeters thick, then filled it completely with bronze so dense and solid that the statue became effectively immovable. The robes are covered in incredibly intricate patterns, zigzags, dots, triangles, fringes, geometric arrangements that suggest embroidery so fine it rivals anything produced in the ancient world. The queen stands with her hands crossed over her body, fingers extended, wearing rings and bracelets. The ring on her left hand has been called the oldest ring in the world. On the skirt of the statue, carved in Elamite cuneiform, she left her own words. She said, and this is her own voice speaking through 3,000 years, I am Napir Asu, wife of Untash Napirisha. Whoever destroys my statue, whoever erases my name, whoever smashes this image, may the wrath of the great gods destroy him. May his name be wiped from the earth. May his descendants never come. She got what she wanted. Her statue survived. Her name survived. The scholars at the Wiley Academic Library, reviewing this statue, called it a masterpiece of ancient Near Eastern art and said it offers insight into metalworking technology at its highest ancient achievement. The artifact is currently held in the Louvre Museum in Paris. A queen of ancient Iran, dark-skinned people of an ancient civilization that most history books barely mention, speaking directly to the future from 3,000 years ago. But it was not just building and art that made the Elamites extraordinary. They were intellectually sophisticated. They developed their own system of writing, the Proto-Elamite script, which is the second oldest writing system ever found in human history, right behind the Sumerian cuneiform. Ancient tablets found at Susa and across the Iranian plateau contained Proto-Elamite
markings dating to around 3100 BC. These were administrative records, economic documents, inventories, evidence of a complex society that needed written records to function. Later, the Elamites adapted the Akkadian cuneiform script to write their own language, and Elamite became an official administrative language of the entire Achaemenid Persian Empire centuries later. When Darius the Great, one of the most powerful rulers in ancient history, built his great palace at Persepolis and recorded his conquests and his glory at the Behistun inscription, he recorded them in 3 languages. One of those 3 languages was Elamite, the language of the first people of that land, still being used as a language of power, written in stone for the world to read. That is a legacy.
We talk about the ancient world as if it had 4 civilizations. Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, Rome.
Like I said,
but Elam was operating at the same level as all of them and doing it longer than
with Congressman Sri, I can't pronounce his last name. I'll try my best. Feindar. He's an Indian congressman representing the outskirts of Detroit, Michigan. I don't know which district exactly, but I do know that he has introduced HR 7215, a commission to study land reparations for African Americans and offer remedies. And I know that bill he introduced is a start, but when I read the bill briefly, it's very messy, convoluted, diluted.
Ambiguous.
Ambiguous, exactly, right? And so the purpose of the meeting for next Wednesday is to push, to correct the language for the bill, because right now it's in the House Judiciary Committee since March 12th of this year. And also because I found out he set up that the commission is going to be set up for 60 days. After 60 days, a House representative is going to be appointed to introduce legislation. It was very vague, no deadline. Like, for example, like January, 20, April 2026 to like June 2026, count as 60 days. And so we got to put, a lot of pressure, right? Correction, and so as like strategies to get there. So there's going to be several American freedmen attending, including Jesse, Lady Che. So we want to see you attend this meeting of Shabaka because you have a lot to offer, at the table, given your experience, understanding, separation, right? And it's going to be several American two American freed women who are experts on reintroducing the Office of Freedmen Affairs to correct Feindar's bill, because his bill is just mixing refugees, immigrants, Africans, Black Americans with American freedmen. He doesn't say if it's on American legal soil or transatlantic slave trade, and it's very ambiguous. And Something
Okay.
has to be done, and good thing is that the two ladies at the meeting, they're going to offer deadlines for Congressman Fendor
Okay.
to get serious before the midterm elections on, I think, November 3rd of 2026 this year, like 60 days. Because
Okay. Now let me ask you this.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Let me ask you this here, Jesse. Is it possible to recall a member of Congress?
I mean, it's possible.
But it's never been tried before, right?
A Congress?
Yeah, the U.S. Congress, not a state legislature.
U.S. Congress, I think there is like I think it's called Article 15, that you can recall a member of Congress to the Supreme Court. I'm trying to remember the legal provision, because my friend told me about this a while ago. I'm trying to remember. To impeach or to charge a member of Congress for violating Article 15 when it comes to
each member of Congress.
Right. Yeah. I'm trying to remember the legislation. Yeah. But oh, sorry to digress. But yeah, Shabaka, yeah. So I know that I understand that you're having technical difficulties for virtual meetings, right? So I know that you could do a dial in, call in number to speak to.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have the link yet, but I'm going to press on the staffer to email me the link by tomorrow. He told me he's going to email me the link before April. I have to follow up, but you can definitely dial in the number as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because after I get finishing with his ass, they might have the Fed knocking on my door.
Right. No, this is a virtual meeting because I know people live like 1,000 miles away from Washington, D.C., and I know a virtual meeting is going to be effective.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I'm 1,000 miles from Jesse.
Oh, go ahead, Shabaka.
Yeah, I'm 1,000 miles from Jesse.
From Jesse, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes right. And I'm trying to remember. Oh, sorry, I'm almost about to lose my train of thought. But anyways, Congressman Dar, if he wants to do right by American freedmen, he has to be very serious because obviously he's failing American freedmen in the outskirts of Detroit, Michigan. When we know that Detroit makes up a majority of American freedmen or FBAs, and other groups are surpassing American freedmen in his district, and it is definitely wrong. And there needs to be a course correction on that.
Oh, absolutely. See, and what it is, man, is that this is the age now, Michael, with this dumpster, is that people are looking for resurrection of the mental dead. What do I mean by that? In other words, man, a lot of people are starting to step out of the box. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. So exactly. Yes.
Almost 800 miles, Shabaka, not 1,000, but close enough.
Okay.
Right.
So yes, 800 miles that I'm from you, Jesse.
749.
Okay, that's a damn near the length of California.
Right. Oh, and so right. And so Shabaka, in the private chat, I listed my email contact information once you receive the link.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then because Jesse's gonna send you my email address.
Correct. Once I receive the link from the staffer, I'm hoping by tomorrow.
Right.
And I'm definitely going to follow with the staffer because I gotta tell you, to schedule the meetings with congressional staffers, it was so difficult. I was emailing, calling, and I had to raise my voice literally today to get the staffer on hold. Right.
Oh yeah. Because you got a lot of these damn foot draggers out here, man. Is because see what's happening, man. And not getting off topic, Brother Che. What's happening, man, is that Trump's regime is going to start crumbling within, man, because they already got a big crack in it.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And also, sorry.
On Iran and the ancient Black history of Iran.
Right. And Shabaka, as I told Jesse earlier, there's a freed woman who's been working with Trump very closely to reinstate the Office of Freedmen Affairs at the executive branch. Yes. You'll hear her voice next Wednesday. I forgot her. I think her last name is Cos Valo. She's a freed woman based in Miami, Florida, and she's been meeting with Trump she had conversations and close partnership with Trump since 2016, and she met with him and the White House staffers about lineage-based policies, reinstating the Office of Freedmen Affairs.
Okay.
And she told me that, and she told me the checks will probably come from Department of War, known as Department of Defense, right? But she understood.
And another thing too, not getting off topic, Mike. So this is what's happening with these dumpsters from within that I saw online earlier today. Because the last time that you had a Department of War, man, was during World War II.
Right.
Then they changed it to the Department of Defense, after the end of World War II. You see, so it's just the implication of what it's saying is because there's a difference between war and defense. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because the freed woman told me that the checks to American freedom is going to come from Department of War. She told me in the future, because right now the goal is to establish a foundation, a legal designation for American freedmen. In other words, if a baby was born as a freed man, freed woman, there's a legal category, as a legal category will be established, and a legal class both legal category and legal class will be established already for a baby born as a freed woman or freed man in the future. So that way, when the U.S. Census Bureau conducts gathers data, right, every 10 years, then it's easier easier for the freedmen families to identify as freedmen. So that way, the category be established and be easier to not only identify eligibility, but to cut the check. That way, as protection, as a legal status class protection, right? And the lady who's an expert on on the Office of Freedmen Affairs, her name is Dia Foy. She's based in Dallas, Texas, and is running as an independent. She has reparations as on her platform as Office of Freedmen Affairs, very specific, and she's deadline focused. And she's like a laser beam. And you're definitely going to hear next Wednesday. And she's very goal oriented. And yes, she's a baby boomer generation, so she understands why American freedmen definitely need to check. But at the same time, an independent Freedmen Affairs agency has to be established as protection, independent from Congress, U.S. Senator, and the president, right? And the other woman told me that she already contacted Trump about establishing the Secretary of Office of Freedmen Affairs at the cabinet level. So there's been talks, there's been conversations. Conversations have happened already, but it's still, I think, still pending, and Donald Trump knows about it, right? Because I was wondering, like Sarah Freeman or myself could partner with her, and she told me she has the list, right? Because my goal is, I want to go all the way to the White House beyond Congress, right? Because we know that executive orders can set the precedent for Congress, because we know Donald Trump is about deadlines, right? I mean, look at how he was able to pass the one big beautiful bill, within like 1 week, and he got the deadline, and he accomplished that goal because he was firm. Oh, sorry, Jesse, I didn't mean to go overtime. Sorry.
It's the second one, the email.
Oh, right. Okay. No problem. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yes, excuse me. So I'm losing my voice. I had a very deep conversation today with two freed women, so I apologize. Please forgive me. But good. I see. Yep, I see the email. Yep, already. Yep. I'm sorry. The information. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Michael. There's 7 more minutes left of this video, and then we can dial.
Oh yeah, if you can let Lady Che know in advance, because I put in the public chat. In the public chat already.
Yeah, I'll let her know.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be glad to appreciate it. And very quickly, by the way, when I gave a bad review about that Asian food hall in Woodbridge, Virginia, I said it's not worth the money and time for American freed customers to dine there and eat there. Do not patronize that business, American freedmen.
Exactly. Hit him where it hurts, right in the pocketbook, man, and his ass to be out of business real quick.
Yep, I did, right? And he was, I think, fired already. But when I sent the review, I think it was a little too late. But I did list several Black-owned restaurants to American Freedmen in the review in near Woodbridge, Virginia. So that way they have the address, phone number, and the name of restaurants they can dine at Black-owned establishment or soul food restaurants. I put that in the review to let American Freedmen know next time if they're going to dine at the Asian Food Hall, read the review. And I'm hoping they listen to, I'm hoping that they really take my review very seriously, American Freedmen, not to dine at the Asian Food Hall, because that Asian manager was very racist, not only to the Black customers, but to his staff, manager.
Remember, Shabaka, I played the video last night.
Yes, sir, you did. And then the way he disrespected that brother, see, a motherfucker like me, man, would be sitting right now in the goddamn county jail after this right hand bounced off his chin.
Exactly. Yeah, and I know, like, when I told Lady Say on the live stream last night, I know she felt a little relief, but I know it's not a total relief yet. And I know she was like surprised, like, wow, Mike, I couldn't believe you. You haven't eaten that yet. Yeah, because I know. Why would I want to eat at a racist Asian establishment when they don't treat American Freedmen? When they don't treat American Freedmen right, then I don't eat there at all. Because what's the point of going to that Asian food hall and then they disrespect American Freedmen? Could be my colleagues or anyone I know. No, I know what is right for, American Freedmen. And so the EOC issued a payout to the brother, only $54,000. That is a slap on the face. He's gone at least $100,000 as a manager of that establishment. And I'm going to tell Demetra K, she's watching. Demetra K, Asian-owned businesses. When Demetra K that she only go to Asian-owned business unless they have Black employees, 50-50. But Demetra, you're on. You can't. You know why? Because when Asian established businesses employ Black employees, they're not going to treat them right. And they're going to tell Black employees to monitor Black customers. So Demetra K, please use wisdom, saying it has to be Black owned 100%. Sorry. I'm going a little crazy today. I apologize.
Okay, but I'll tell you one person that would have pissed off, man, who was Asian, who would have got pissed off with that.
Lee.
Oh yeah, absolutely, no doubt.
Bruce Lee. The reason being is because see what Bruce was doing, man, that I had found out, Michael, is that he was, teaching some of the Black Panthers that Tao of the Jeet Kune Do, the way of the intercepting hand or fist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, see, because he had studios in Seattle, then he had some in the Bay Area. Then when he went to Long Beach, California, man, in a tournament in 1964, that's when he got offered the job as Kato on the TV series The Green Hornet, and that's how he got off into the movie making business.
Right. True. Yes. Yeah, I did not watch a lot of Bruce Lee movies growing up. I watched a lot of Jet Li, Steven Seagal, Wesley Snipes, Arnold
I dig Jet Li.
Van Damme. But the one who really saw the most was Steven Seagal. You remember the movie Out for Justice, Hard to Catch, Exit Wounds? And Steven Seagal didn't play in any of those action movies. I'm here for justice. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that justice is served correct for those who could not, defend themselves, right?
Yeah, but another cat that I dug too, who just turned 77, was Bolo Yeong.
Bolo Yeong, never heard of him before.
No, he's the guy, man, that Jean-Claude Van Damme went up against some blood sport at the end.
Right. I'm trying to remember the name of the movie. Polo. I can't remember. Was it Polo? Got it.
He was also in Enter the Dragon too.
Polo.
Yeah.
Right, Polo Yeong. Exactly. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Yeah. B-O-L-O. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he just turned 78 too, by the way, I saw on social media.
Wow, Bolo's still alive?
Yeah, man. See, what happens is,
my God, 78 years old.
Arts, yeah, see, when you study those martial arts, man, and it heed to the cleansing of your system and strengthening your body and stuff like that, yeah, man, it can, extend your lifespan.
That's why you're gonna live to 100 years old, Shabaka.
Man,
Sabaka,
man, I haven't worked out in years.
Yes, Sabaka, we know that you can do it. We know that you're going to live as long as you can to make sure that you get the check from the government.
Oh, hell yeah, most definitely. Then I might, have to get pushed in my wheelchair, man, to go up here and try to take $1,000 of it to the crap table, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm like I said, you can call me Steven Seagal, as I told Jesse earlier, because you know, I'm a guy who sometimes going to have to break rules to make sure you guys get lineage-based cash paying reparations, which I got ousted by Friday Jones, as I told Jesse and Lady Shay before, right? Because I believe that in order to break rules, you got to be creative, you got to be an artist to get to reparations, right? Because following rules or like procedures they're really pointless. It's like really not a good use of time. And I know, like, you know, some American freemen say, screw the rules, policies. We want action. We want, like, Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Wesley Snipes, especially Wesley Snipes' movie Passenger 57, when Wesley Snipes said, always bet on black.
Oh, yeah. Funny you should say that, Michael, because I've got a friend of mine, you know, who's a public figure. That's what he always says.
Right. Exactly.
Video.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to take so much of your time, Jesse. I apologize for delaying time, but Jesse, if you can also let Sarah or American Freedmen know on April 8th. And this meeting is definitely exclusively for American Freedmen. Just want to let you know, Shabaka, let's say, and you or several American Freedmen who might be watching.
It's only for 30 minutes or an hour.
So I have to find out. I'm hoping for an hour. It's most likely going to be like 30 minutes, but is it possible it's going to extend beyond 30 minutes because that bill definitely needs amendment and a lot of corrections to Congressman Sri Fadenor's commission bill for reparations. Needs a lot of updates, you know, right language and so on. And I kind of did my own. Right. And I kind of did
particularly with Captain Binghamton being the Speaker of the House, man, I have a dumpster. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to give him no excuse, man. Well, it can't be heard.
Exactly. Right. And so I'm definitely going to record the conversation on April 8th as evidence, right? Right. So because we know that, hey, Freynar, you know you said this, right? Because I have it recorded.
Yeah.
So I made sure to make sure this is only reserved for American Freedmen only, for April 8th, and also going to empower some American Freedmen to provide their, you know, thoughts, input, going on script because the script is too limited. I just want to see, you know, creativity, you know, fire. Because you guys are very intelligent, you guys have evidence, you guys have like birth certificates,
right?
You know, to really put Congressman Sri in his place,
right?
Yeah,
and because who's going to speak up for his constituents?
All right, y'all. I got to get to finish playing the rest of this clip.
Yeah, get to the video. Yeah, sorry.
The omission is not accidental; it is a pattern.
The Elamites also gave the world some of the most significant legal documents ever found. When Elamite king Shutruk-Nahonte invaded Babylon around 1158 BC and carried off treasures from the conquered city, among those treasures was a stone stele bearing something remarkable, the law code of Hammurabi. This ancient Babylonian legal code, one of the oldest written legal frameworks in human history, was taken to Susa and preserved there. It was found in Susa by archaeologists centuries later. Had the Elamites not taken it, had they not stored it in their city, had they not in their own way preserved it through the centuries, that document, which formed a foundation for legal thinking in the ancient world, might have been lost completely. The oldest legal code in human history survived because the Elamites took it home. The Elamites fought the Assyrians for centuries. The Assyrian Empire, which at its height dominated everything from Egypt to the Persian Gulf, found the Elamites to be one of the most persistent and dangerous opponents it ever faced. Elamite kings allied with Babylonian rulers against Assyrian power repeatedly. They sent armies, sheltered refugees, kept the resistance against Assyrian expansion alive. This was not weakness. This was strategic determination that lasted for generations. Eventually, in 646 BC,
The Assyrian king Ashurbanipal, one of the most powerful monarchs of his age, launched a devastating invasion of Elam, sacked Susa, and scattered its people. It was one of the most violent destructions in the ancient Near East. But even Ashurbanipal could not erase what the Elamites had built. Within a century, the Persians who came after the Elamites did not arrive in an empty land and build from nothing. They arrived in a land already shaped by one of the most sophisticated civilizations in the ancient world. The Achaemenid Persian kings, Cyrus, Darius, Xerxes, inherited Elamite cities, Elamite administrative structures, Elamite scribes, Elamite metalwork traditions, and Elamite sacred architecture. When Darius built his magnificent palace at Susa, he built it on top of the ground that Elamites had first made sacred. He built using artisans from across his empire, including Elamite craftsmen whose ancestors had been shaping bronze and brick in that city for thousands of years before he arrived. The Persepolis reliefs, the magnificent carved stone decorations on the Great Terrace at Persepolis, show the peoples of the empire in procession, and the Elamites are among them, depicted in their traditional dress, bringing their offerings, still present, still recognizable, still a people with their own identity, even as they became part of the Persian world. The story of the Elamites is the story of a civilization that lasted nearly 3,000 years. Think about that number. 3,000 years of continuous civilization in the same land, speaking the same language, worshipping the same gods, building on the same cities, generation after generation. The Roman Empire lasted 500 years. The United States has existed for 250. Elam lasted 3,000. From around 3000 BC to around 540 BC, these dark-skinned people of ancient Iran sat at the crossroads of the ancient world and shaped everything that passed through them. They traded with the Indus Valley. They fought Egypt's neighbors. They preserved the code of Hammurabi. They built the ziggurat at Chogha-Zanbil. They produced Queen Napir-Asu's statue, the most extraordinary piece of ancient metal sculpture in the Near East. They invented their own writing system. They influenced the Persians, who would go on to build the largest empire the ancient world had seen. And they did all of this from the land that would one day be called Iran. They are almost never in the history books that most people grew up reading. Their name is rarely mentioned in popular documentaries about ancient civilization. The spotlight has always fallen on Egypt, on Mesopotamia, on Greece, on Rome. But there in the land between the Zagros Mountains and the Persian Gulf, longer than almost any of those civilizations ever lasted, the Elamites were building, fighting, writing, praying, casting statues, raising towers to the sky, and leaving their mark on the earth. The mark is still there. Susa is still there as the modern city of Shush. Chogha-Zanbil still rises from the Iranian plain. The statue of Napir-Asu still stands in the Louvre, still wearing her curse for anyone who dares erase her name. Nobody has erased it. The ancient dark-skinned people of Iran were not a footnote. They were a foundation. And now you know their story. If this history opened something in you, if it made you see the ancient world differently and more completely, subscribe. There are more.
What happened? Brother Chat.
Oh, and subscribe to Frontline Black News. That was the end of the.
Okay. Okay. All righty. Okay. Yeah, because it's real windy out here, man. You know what I'm saying? So, this might be interfering with my connections,
Salute, Goddess Nabi. That was about the history of ancient Iran. The Black history of ancient Iran.
Yeah, and Iran also
Yeah,
owns slaves, right?
Huh?
Oh, I was going to ask, I'm sure Iran owns slaves as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this is before the transatlantic slave trade.
Right. But you got to keep in mind, though, too, Michael, a lot of slaves basically were prisoners of war. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because that's how King Shaka built the Zulu nation. You see what I mean? Okay. It's because he had went down in there, and I'm trying to see what Goddess Navi's comments are. But wait.
Hannah Berry is in every courthouse. That's true, crew.
Okay, I'm trying to see what Goddess Navi was saying. Okay. All right. Hold on a second. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Okay, now. Okay, Goddess Navi says she's okay. And yes, I did. I was going to respond to you. I'll make a meeting in the future sometime soon. That one, I'm unable to attend. Thanks for that info.
Yeah, she was talking about
the April 8th. Yeah. She was talking to you, Michael. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I apologize. It's on a short notice, Sabaka and a goddess, because I was trying to make sure I get the mean date and time correctly in advance, even when I submitted a help desk ticket. And I learned something from several American freedmen, Jesse, Sabaka, is always, be persistent, follow up, follow through, play chess, not checkers. So that's what I've been doing with several elected officials, regardless.
Exactly. That's exactly what you have to do with them, Michael, is because because see, first thing you got to understand is a politician, right? His thing is to be out there in front of the news and all that old type of stuff when it look like he's in control, right? But when you start hitting his ass with some hard facts, okay, and doing, see, how can I put this to you? It's like off in a boxing game. Okay, you got to get inside the offense to get your offense going on.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Okay, so a lot of these politicians, man, they stay up nights practicing, all that diatribe.
Yeah, they spend midnight oil.
Exactly. Look at Captain Binghamton. Okay, you know who Captain Binghamton is, right?
Captain Binghamton? I don't think I've heard of him before.
Okay, that's a dude. Okay, he was. It was a show called McHale's Navy where they had this captain in there named Captain Binghamton, who was a real jerk. Okay, and so this dude Mike Johnson with those glasses on looks just like him. That's why I call him Captain Binghamton.
Captain.
Yeah, because he's a straight dumpster. You know what I'm saying? And I've been cussing out dumpsters all day long. You know what I mean?
Gosh, bro, you're gonna get everything shut down again.
No. Not here on Frontline Black News, Brother Chad. I'm talking about on my like page and on my on my Facebook page. You see, but what it is, I know when to do it because what I do now is that when they make insults to me, right, I respond to their insults, and then as soon as I respond to the insult, right, then I block them.
Right.
So gears, we're moving to this land, meaning America.
Yeah. So Jesse, I gotta. So Jesse, I want to let you. I gotta go because my battery's about to die on my computer. Unfortunately, I just want to let you know. Sorry to join you guys live short notice. Unfortunately, because my Wi-Fi connection is not going to fix until tomorrow morning. So hopefully things will be back to normal. So I apologize for the technical inconvenience. But thank you so much, Jesse, for allowing me to come on briefly.
And on one last note, though, too, Michael, I just got an unconfirmed report off of CNN that Tiger Woods has retired from golf.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's not good because of what happened.
Yeah,
he needs to retire because he has a lot of wealth and really fight for reparations. I hope I tell my cousin that because
Yeah.
Tiger Woods' father definitely was a American freed man. So it's time to really, carry Tiger Woods' father's legacy and go hard for
Yeah,
the
because I remember in the 80s when he was a kid, man, they were showing it in the early 80s of this young boy about 2 or 3 years old that really liked it golf, and lo and behold, it was Tiger Woods,
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So he should have made his living 5 times over. You know what I mean?
He should have. Absolutely. And not only that, but Tiger Woods had really invested in a lot of freedmen-owned businesses, right? Especially
really?
in California, he should have. I'm saying like to show solidarity, because Tiger Woods knows that he's black on the golf course. He's not biracial, right? And if
Right,
Tiger
and
Woods
he had a
done
nice home up there in Rancho Palos Verdes too.
No, but he was going by cannibalizing. He was saying he was cannibalizing.
Cannibalizing, right. But I'm just saying, like in reality, right? I'm sure Jesse Shabak, you know that Tiger Woods is still treated as a black man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right, in this country.
Yeah.
And I think Tiger Woods would have been more famous if he had really gave back to American freedmen. Not only give back to American freedmen, but helping American freedmen get established financially, setting up several American freedmen-owned golf courses, businesses, schools, and that's intergenerational wealth that's been passed on from Woods to American freedmen. If he had done it correctly, instead of trying to like follow the PGA tours of being adequate, talking like Brad.
More stories, exactly.
Right.
Right. Yeah, that's all I have to say. I don't want to take so much of your time. My battery's about to die pretty soon. I apologize again.
Okay. And Goddess Navi says, shout out to Tiger on that for supporting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She says here in the she's in the chat.
Which can
Absolutely. All right. I'll catch you guys.
We'll catch you later.
Thank you. Yeah, catch you later. Thank you so much.
You too.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
And then after,
I'm gonna get to the Buffalo Soldiers, and then I'll be it.
Okay, and then I'm gonna call it a night because I told you I got this appointment to make tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. You say. Okay. All right. Now, getting back to the Buffalo Soldiers.
This story is about a group of soldiers that made up one segment of the United States cavalry. To the Indian, this soldier looked strange and different because he wasn't white. He was black. Thick, woolly hair, strong. He sort of reminded the Indian of the great buffalo. So the Indian called this black cavalry soldier Buffalo Soldier.
Hey, Breeze.
The Buffalo Soldiers were African-American troops who were veterans of the Indian Wars. Soldiers from the Deep South, these men sought refuge in the military.
The example that the Buffalo Soldiers demonstrated was one that Black people were proud of.
One of the messages that I share with youth is that you have to figure out and learn where you come from.
They fought for us.
The Jim Crow era, racial oppression was extreme.
And a black man standing tall could have been a dead man.
Native Americans don't necessarily see the Buffalo Soldiers as heroes.
You don't ask when you are being enlisted, who am I going to be fighting?
They all came to the conclusion that if you fight for the country, you should be a full-fledged citizen. That's what drove Buffalo Soldiers to fight, even knowing that the United States might not honor that promise.
Yeah, Bree says he's worn out. Sound like he just got off of work.
Yeah.
Now, was it possible that these brothers was also the prelude to the Harlem Hellfighters of the First World War, Brother Che?
In the narrative of American history, the West has always been this mythical and symbolic place in which heroic deeds were done. And being capable of great deeds was not something that society was willing to admit that Black people were capable of doing. And so as a consequence, when we tell our stories, we leave the Black stories out. And the Buffalo Soldiers were a perfect example of that.
Perhaps the best example of this crossing out of Black stories comes from the Spanish-American War.
Okay, that's
when the U.S.
1898.
intervened in the Cuban struggle for independence from Spain.
Right. And the Philippines.
The explosion of an American battleship, the USS Maine, in Havana's harbor, roused public support for war.
We go to war with Spain in 1898 to conquer Cuba and Puerto Rico, and eventually that culminates in one of the most famous battles of American military history, the battle at San Juan
Hill, Teddy Roosevelt.
Black soldiers make up about 3,000 men, or 13% of the U.S. troops sent to Cuba.
Yeah, Brees just got off
The Spanish-American War is brief, lasting roughly 6 months. But it was enough to promote the career of a little-known New York City politician named Theodore Roosevelt.
Roosevelt was a prima donna. He had never been in the military before. He literally organized the Rough Riders out of whole cloth, despite the fact that he had no military background. And he sort of pushed his way in to lead the Rough Riders.
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt, right?
Yeah, Franklin Roosevelt's cousin.
Yeah, Theodore Roosevelt.
So right, he was the president and he elected in 1900. Yes, sir.
So he was another Trump.
Pretty much.
And another Biden.
Yeah, but you know what Theodore Roosevelt used to like to do in his spare time?
Box.
Exactly.
In Cuba.
We've all heard the story of Teddy Roosevelt charging up San Juan Hill. Now the real story. They charged up San Juan Hill after the 10th Cavalry had breached the defenses.
Teddy Bear Roosevelt.
A black soldier, Sergeant George Berry of the 10th Cavalry, planted the flags atop the hill. Roosevelt and his men arrived well after the 10th and the 3rd Cavalry, a white regiment.
If it had not been for the timely aid of the 10th Cavalry, the Rough Riders would have been exterminated. Sergeant Lewis Bowman, 10th Cavalry, Tampa Morning Tribune.
Yeah, Breezy did go bare knuckles.
After the battle is over, there are all the official photographs. And the photograph that we most see now in classrooms is Theodore Roosevelt standing in the middle and his Rough Riders all around him. If you extend that photograph out, then you'll see the black soldiers.
That's where DMX got the...
And in a way, that's...
Breeze, is that where DMX got the Rough Riders from?
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders is what they used to call them.
A metaphor for what happened on San Juan Hill, that it is assumed that Theodore Roosevelt led the Rough Riders up. They were the ones who defeated the Spanish, and that broke the back of Spanish resistance and led to the American victory. In fact, it was a victory that belonged as much to the Buffalo Soldiers.
The now little-known history of the Buffalo Soldiers stretches from what came to be known as the Indian Wars in the late 19th century through the end of racial segregation in the U.S. military following the Korean War. The Buffalo Soldiers were all black cavalry and infantry regiments. The first part of the Buffalo Soldiers story takes place in the West as the United States expanded into indigenous lands. This story is embodied by men like Ordnance Sergeant Moses Williams, a Medal of Honor recipient. The second part of the Buffalo Soldiers story picks up as indigenous people are being forced onto reservations, and the United States begins engaging in military expeditions abroad in Cuba, the Philippines, and Mexico.
There it is.
This story is embodied by Lieutenant Colonel Charles Young, one of the first black graduates of West Point.
Yep.
In every American war, the American Revolution, War of 1812, the Civil War, all of those have included large involvements of African Americans.
When the Civil War broke out in 1861, abolitionist Frederick Douglass lobbied the Lincoln administration to accept black men into the Union Army.
Once let the black man get upon his person the brass letters U.S. Let him get an eagle on his button and a musket on his shoulder and bullets in his pockets, and there is no power on earth which can deny that he has earned the right to citizenship.
Thousands of black men were recruited by African-American physician Martin Delaney, who was commissioned as a major to lead the United States colored troops.
We are Yankee soldiers who've enlisted for the war. We are fighting for the Union. We are
By the time the war ended in 1865, 40,000 African American soldiers had died to help keep the nation whole.
Damn. Damn.
Do you know that if it was not for the black men, this war never would have been brought to a close with success to the Union? Major Martin L. Delaney, 1865.
President Lincoln agreed, saying, "Without the military help of the black freed men, the war against the South could not have been won." At the end of the war, the United States colored troops were disbanded. Wartime casualties had reduced the U.S. Army to a fraction of its former size.
It isn't until the end of the Civil War that the nation's energy shifts, and they're suddenly interested in Western land, in expansion, manifest destiny. Extending America from shore to shore, from sea to sea, was kind of an official policy, but it was also an attitude. Most people forget that we are on lands that once had all of this rich Native American life, that there were people who were living and dying and being born on these lands.
Oh, $25 tip, crew, show you right.
In order for the quest for continental expansion to succeed, the
breathe,
indigenous peoples who had lived on the land for thousands of years had to be dealt with.
They're building these railroads through native homelands, which inevitably creates conflict.
Indian removal, as it came to be called, required a larger military force. In 1866, Congress authorized the formation of 30 new units.
And that included 2 African-American cavalry units and 4 African-American infantry units.
Maryland,
Many
Missouri,
of the veterans
Louisiana,
of the United States Colored Troops, they would become the nucleus of the soldiers that enlisted in the 6 black regiments after the Civil War.
The economic circumstances are what's driving things.
For a young African-American man to go into the Army was all about making money.
If you're poor, if you're a sharecropper's son, the $13 a month sounds pretty good.
You have to remember that although blacks were now newly free, slavery had been abolished by the adoption of the 13th Amendment, their real condition in the American South had not changed that much. They had no property, they had no money, they had no political power.
They come from a background where it was illegal to teach an enslaved person to read or write. If you tried to vote at that time, there were literacy tests that were there put in front of you, and they were designed so that you would fail that test. And if you could pass the literacy test, if you could pay for the poll tax, it had to deal with outright intimidation at the polling place. All of these barriers were put in front of them, but which road was clear and open? And that was the road to enlistment.
When I was a kid, I was very, very lucky to have my grandfather, who had been a Buffalo soldier. His name was Samuel Nathaniel Waller. He joined the Army in 1887 and retired in 1927. He died in 1979 at 105. I asked him one time, I said, respectfully, how come you serve this racist country for 40 years? And my grandfather told me something that it took me a while to appreciate. He said the Army gave him the only part of the American dream that the nation would let him share in. The Army offered to them something that outside of its structure didn't exist: an opportunity to advance, an opportunity to grow. That is why many of them joined.
In October 1866, in Lake Providence, Louisiana, dozens of black men show up to join the 9th Cavalry. One of them is 21-year-old Moses Williams.
We don't know much about Moses Williams' family at all. And what little information we have is from his enlistment papers over the years.
Father and mother died when I was an infant. One brother died of consumption, one sister of fever. Moses Williams.
What he describes as smallpox when I was 20 years old left him with almost zero vision in his left eye, which makes his later reputation as a skilled marksman extraordinary. When Williams enlisted, he could not read or write. Service in the Army gave Williams the opportunity to start educating himself. The soldiers got meals, they got uniforms, they got pensions and benefits. But at that time, Black soldiers could only rise as high as sergeant. The ranks of lieutenant and above were held by white officers. In Missouri, another former slave chooses to enlist under the assumed name of William Cathy because she was female. She was born Cathy Williams in Independence, Missouri in September 1844.
There were few opportunities for aspiring young Black women in this time period beyond marriage or beyond domestic service to white society.
Once owned by a wealthy farmer, Cathy was liberated by the Union Army, but pressed into service as war contraband.
When the war broke out and the United States soldiers came to Jefferson City, they took me and the other colored folk with them. I did not want to go. Colonel Benton wanted me to cook for the officers. Cathy Williams, 1862.
The 22-year-old had no experience as a cook and was soon reassigned to the laundry, exploited by the Yankees as she had been by her former master. After the war, used to the military life, she disguised herself as a man to enlist in the regular army near St. Louis, Missouri on November 15, 1866.
I wanted to make my own living and not be dependent on relations or friends.
How she was able to get into the infantry, during that time is, to me, is still amazing.
William Cathy passes a clearly superficial examination and is assigned to Company A of the 38th Infantry.
I carried my musket and did guard and other duties while in the Army.
During her 2 years of service, Cathy Williams and her unit marched roughly 1,000 miles on foot from Fort Harker in Kansas to Fort Bayard in New Mexico Territory, enduring extreme weather, meager rations, and primitive living conditions.
The conditions in which they served was terrible. You had so many soldiers dying, so many soldiers being disabled because of cholera and different types of diseases.
After several hospitalizations for rheumatism and neuralgia, Cathy's sex was finally discovered by an Army surgeon. She was discharged on October 14th, 1868.
The men all wanted to get rid of me after they found out I was a woman. Some of them acted real bad to me.
Upon her discharge, Cathy Williams discarded her male disguise and struck out for Colorado, where she worked as a cook and a laundress. Stricken with diabetes and neuralgia, she applied for an Army pension, but was refused. Cathy Williams died in Trinidad, Colorado in 1893 at the age of 48.
Me too.
Final resting place, unknown.
So they put her in an unmarked grave.
Of the 6 new regiments of Black soldiers created in 1866 after the Civil War, 2 are ordered to Texas, 1 to New Mexico Territory, and the others to Kansas and the Indian Territories in present-day Oklahoma. Only 2 are initially stationed outside the West. Even those regiments would soon be posted to the frontier.
The American West was a very difficult, hostile place to live at this time, whether you were engaging in combat or not.
Mexican bandits and white outlaws operate freely on both sides of the Rio Grande. And bands of Kiowa, Comanche, and Mescalero Apaches raid across West Texas.
The Buffalo Soldiers served as a police force because it was literally the Wild West.
Moses Williams and the 9th Cavalry will spend the next decade in Texas. They range out on patrol for as much as a year at a stretch. But despite their role in securing the frontier, many Texas citizens do not welcome the Buffalo Soldiers.
Think of the irony here. Black people are being attacked in East Texas by Ku Klux Klan types.
Yeah.
Black people in West Texas are defending whites from Native Americans.
The blacks who had to coexist in those Western outposts would be surrounded by former Confederates who would look upon a black soldier as not a full human being and would not be willing to treat a black soldier the same way that they would treat a white soldier or a white citizen.
When the 9th Cavalry first arrives in Texas, a white company commander, Lieutenant Edward Hale, orders several of his men hung by their wrists from tree limbs when they did not respond quickly enough to his orders. Hale's brutality results in a mutiny. 2 officers are killed, and several of the soldiers are court-martialed and jailed. Hale gets off with a reprimand.
There's controversy about how the Buffalo Soldiers got the name Buffalo Soldiers.
Yeah.
As early as 1872, soldiers' letters referenced the term Buffalo Soldiers.
The officers say that the Negroes make good soldiers and fight like fiends. The Indians call them Buffalo Soldiers because their woolly heads are so much like the matted cushion that is between the horns of the buffalo.
Wow.
The Plains Indians, the Lakota, Dakota, Sioux, the Cheyenne, they saw these African-American soldiers, and because of their ferocity in battle and the texture of their hair, they began to call them Buffalo Soldiers as a term of respect.
The Buffalo were incredibly important. They were at the heart of culture for these tribes along the Great Plains.
Another possible explanation is that the name could have come from the heavy buffalo robes that soldiers wore in the winter. But regardless of its origins, the name Buffalo Soldiers stuck.
And so it was the name that they adopted for themselves and held with honor well into the 20th century.
Soon after his enlistment, Moses Williams is promoted to first sergeant. He would have been both an advisor to his commanding officers and a mentor to men of lower rank.
The role of sergeant was key in an Army company. The sergeant not only helps oversee the daily activities of those soldiers, but also is that conduit above to the white officers.
On May 20th, 1870, Williams ordered one of his men, Sergeant Emmanuel Stantz, to pursue a group of Apaches near Fort McCavitt.
I discovered a party of Indians about 20 in number, making for a couple government teams. They evidently meant to capture the stock. I immediately attacked them by charging them. I set the Spencers to talking and whistling about their ears so lively that they broke off in confusion and fled for the hills. Sergeant Emmanuel Stantz, 9th Cavalry.
For his bravery in this engagement, Stantz became the first Buffalo Soldier awarded the Medal of Honor. Life at a typical Army post in the West would have been a hub of activity.
The day-to-day work of African-American soldiers was escorting supply wagons, helping string telegraph lines, helping protect parties that were surveying locations for railway lines. Really, the work that they were doing was supporting the American infrastructure moving west of the Mississippi. All of this expansion into the American West is coming at the cost of displacing Native peoples and their lifeways. Who's on the front line of that conflict? It's largely the Buffalo Soldiers.
We look back and we see two populations of color. So we assume there would be some kind of potential alliance. The Buffalo Soldiers did not look at the Native Americans and see another, in quotes, colored population. They saw a designated enemy.
You don't ask when you are being enlisted, who am I going to be fighting?
When it came time to do their duty, they would do what they were paid to do.
They didn't join to kill Indians. They joined because it gave them a sense of respect to wear the uniform of the United States. to potentially sacrifice their life for the United States in the hope that that sacrifice would result in conditions improving for their loved ones back home.
On the one hand, it is a story of great triumph, but it's also a story about people being dispossessed. It's a story about violence. Part of the legacy of the Indian Wars is one of total war. The U.S. Army attempted, in its own way, to starve, kill, maim, do whatever they could to be able to get the end that they wanted.
We destroyed everything in their village. We found a vast amount of buffalo robes, of which each man made a choice of the best. The rest we destroyed.
Yeah, and that's what they told my ass at the
Their
little
tents
big
were
one
made
too.
of poles over which hides were stretched, and these were all burned. Sergeant Jacob Wilkes, 9th Cavalry, 1874.
After a decade in Texas, Moses Williams and the 9th Cavalry are ordered to New Mexico territory. The Buffalo Soldiers set out to track down a group of Apaches led by the charismatic warrior Victorio.
Victorio is probably one of the most brilliant tacticians of the war. And so he does this hit and run campaign across the American Southwest and into Mexico.
The 9th Cavalry pursues Victorio for more than a year. In 1880, the 10th Cavalry joins in the chase.
U.S. and Mexican officials want to see the Apaches crushed.
The Mexican army finally catches up with Victorio at Tres Castillos.
He ends up being pursued like a dog, ends up dying to try to achieve freedom for his own people.
40 of Victorio's followers escaped, including a respected elder known to his people as Cassidan and to outsiders as Nana. He was 75 years old and crippled in one leg. On August 16, 1881, I Company of the 9th Cavalry, where Moses Williams served as first sergeant, came into contact with Nana's band in northern New Mexico. It would prove to be a pivotal day in Williams' life and career. Williams' commanding officer was Lieutenant George Burnett, a recent West Point graduate without much field experience.
So you really have him looking toward Moses Williams for support and leadership.
Burnett describes Williams and Private Augustus Whaley as the two men who were always by me in every danger. Burnett later recalled the events of that day.
It was practically a running fight, which continued for several hours. And we had driven the Indians 8 to 10 miles into the foothills of the Cacho Negro Mountains when they made a final and determined stand.
As they attempt to cut off an Apache retreat into the mountains, Sergeant Williams spots a potential ambush. An Apache warrior in hiding. When Lieutenant Burnett dismounts and fires, warriors start shooting from the ridge.
The commanding lieutenant's horse takes off and flees to the rear.
Someone started the cry, "They got the lieutenant! They got the lieutenant!" And with this, the whole outfit proceeded to follow suit. I called to Sergeant Williams to go after them and bring them back.
Moses Williams goes back to rally these soldiers and brought them back up to the line.
As they charge back into battle, Burnett realizes that 3 privates had become stranded.
My attention was attracted by one of the men, calling to me, "Lieutenant, please, for God's sake, don't leave us. Our lives depend on you." Private Whaley mounted and galloped to him, while myself and Sergeant Williams were exposed to the fire of at least 25 or 30 Indians, without the slightest shelter whatsoever.
Moses Williams, Augustus Whaley, and their commanding officer bring these soldiers that are abandoned to safety at great peril and almost the cost of their own lives.
While Moses Williams battled in the Indian Wars, the first generation of Black cadets fought discrimination at the United States Military Academy at West Point. One of those first cadets was Charles Young. Born into slavery in Kentucky, Young's parents fled with their infant son Charles to Ohio and freedom in 1864. Young's mother, Arminta, was one of the rare enslaved people who had found a way to educate herself.
And really was somebody that passed on to Charles Young the importance of education and what an education can do for a Black person.
Soon after their arrival in Ohio, Young's father, Gabriel, joined the 5th Colored Heavy Artillery and served for a year in the Civil War.
He loved the Army and he loved what it did for him. And he passed that on to his son, Charles. It was one of the major reasons why Charles Young went to West Point.
Young is admitted to West Point in 1884.
130 years ago, when Young attended West Point, it was a very difficult place. It was a place that reflected the Jim Crow norms of society at the time.
Between 1870 and 1900, 12 Blacks had been admitted to West Point. But because of almost unimaginable harassment and discrimination, 9 of the Blacks were forced to leave before they graduated.
They had been harassed by other cadets. Johnson, Whitaker was one. He was tied up and he was cut, and they didn't court-martial the cadets that did that. They court-martialed him because they said he was lying, and he was dismissed from the academy.
While at West Point, Young has to learn how to navigate a color line with the other white cadets.
It was harder for him because he was Black. What he learned from his struggles at West Point were lessons that he used later in life in the officer corps.
His experience at West Point was so intense, so severe, he once said the worst thing he could ever wish on an enemy would be to make them a cadet at West Point.
Young was the 3rd Black graduate of West Point in 1889, and he was the last Black graduate until 1936, a period of almost 50 years.
Enlisted men like Moses Williams did not get a formal education like the kind Charles Young received at West Point. But the Army needed skilled clerks and assigned its regimental chaplains to attend to the soldiers' spiritual and educational needs.
Education opportunities were really limited for African American men at the time, and so the Army offered this opportunity.
With the encouragement of his regimental chaplain, Williams studies to become an ordnance sergeant, the officer in charge of arms and ammunition at an Army post.
Ordnance sergeants were not appointed lightly. It required appointment by the Secretary of War after recommendation from a board of officers.
Williams passes the test and becomes one of the first Black ordnance sergeants in 1886. He then transfers to the 25th Infantry to take charge of the ordnance at Fort Beaufort in the Dakota Territory. It was a remarkable achievement for a man who could not read or write when he joined the Army. 3 years later, in 1889, Charles Young graduates from West Point. The racial barriers that he had overcome as a cadet would shape the rest of his career.
The Army was preoccupied with minimizing Young's contact with white troops and white officers. This meant that when he graduated from West Point, the Army had one choice: assign Charles Young to one of the 4 Black regiments.
Lieutenant Young is assigned to the 9th Cavalry, Moses Williams' old unit, and posted to Fort Robinson, Nebraska.
The mission of the Army had changed on the Western frontier.
America's campaign to usurp indigenous lands was almost finished. Indigenous peoples had been forced onto reservations, like the Sioux Reservation north of Fort Robinson. And the U.S. Army was tasked with making sure they didn't leave.
And these larger posts like Fort Robinson were connected by railroad, by telegraph. The posts just weren't isolated like they had been in the former frontier time.
But it was a lonely life for Young as a Black officer.
As an example, say there was a mandatory function at the Officers Club. Charles Young would show up, stay for what he felt was an appropriate time, and excuse himself. He had to stay on his side of the color line.
Corporals or privates that were well beneath his rank would not necessarily salute him because that meant saluting him, a colored man. And Euro-Americans at that time did not show deference to any African American.
In 1894, the Army reassigns Lieutenant Young to Wilberforce University in Ohio.
His mission was to establish a military training program for Black officers, the first one in the country at Wilberforce University.
Unlike his experience of social isolation in the West, at Wilberforce, Young quickly becomes accepted as part of a vibrant Black intelligentsia.
He developed a friendship with W.B. Du Bois, who was assigned as a professor at Wilberforce University at the time. Du Bois' biographer calls it the first genuine male friendship that Du Bois ever had in his life.
Young is also reunited with his mother, Arminta. He purchases a house for his family that he calls Young's Home, which would remain a refuge for the rest of his life. In 1895, Moses Williams' final posting is to Fort Stevens, Oregon, where the Columbia River meets the Pacific Ocean. The old Civil War fort is being modernized, and he's the only soldier still stationed there. With no soldiers to command, Williams has one last battle to fight, the battle for recognition. During the summer of 1896, he receives news that galvanizes him into action.
Through his correspondence, he learns that at least one of his former fellow soldiers has received the Medal of Honor, and he realizes, well, he was in the very same action.
Private Augustus Whaley and Lieutenant George Burnett had both been decorated with the nation's highest military award for their bravery during the Battle of the Cuchillo Negro Mountains.
At the time, the way that the Medal of Honor process worked, a soldier could self-nominate, provided that they had the support of their commanding officer. Moses Williams tracks down his commanding officer who had since retired and was living in Germany, who writes a very descriptive letter.
I recommend Sergeant Moses Williams for a Medal of Honor for his coolness, bravery, and unflinching devotion to duty in standing by me in an open, exposed position under heavy fire, thus enabling me to undoubtedly save the lives of at least 3 of our men.
On November 23, 1896, the War Department responded.
I'm instructed by the Assistant Secretary of War to transmit to you the accompanying Medal of Honor, awarded to you by the President of the United States for most distinguished gallantry in action with hostile Indians in the foothills of the Cuchillo Negro Mountains.
Moses Williams retires in May 1898 after 37 years of military service. He moves to Fort Vancouver in Washington.
The unfortunate reality for many Buffalo soldiers was that in spite of the kind of service that they provided, their fate after their military service was generally
near Mount St. Helens.
They did not receive high pay in the military. They were not able to.
That's right near Mount Rainier.
To take advantage of opportunities
like about 60
that might have been available to them as civilians.
But you'll see Mount Rainier damn near all over the state of Washington.
No, Rainier is in Oregon. Helens is in Washington. Hood and Rainier are in Oregon.
No, sir. Mount Hood is in Oregon. Mount Washington, no, wait a minute. Mount Hood is in Oregon, Mount Adams is in Oregon, and Mount Rainier is definitely in Seattle, Washington, near Seattle, Washington, near a city called Spanaway.
I thought, okay. I'm going to have to look that up. I could have sworn.
Yeah, look it up, man. You'll see it because I've been there, Jesse.
Yeah. Well, I know St. Helens is in Washington. But Rainier, I thought was Oregon.
No, sir. Rainier is towards Seattle, and Mount St. Helens, man, is just right across the Columbia River from Oregon. And it's flat, when it blew off, because when I stopped there, I asked the guy to show me where Mount St. Helens was. He said, "You see that mountain over there that's flat?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "That's it." I said, "Dang."
Oh, okay, southeast of Seattle.
Yes, sir. About 60 miles. Jay Dizzle would know.
Yeah, it's close
and it's
to Tacoma.
Yeah. and it's a glacier.
Yeah. They're all glaciers, including Mount Shasta.
Yeah. Yeah, and the last time I passed Mount Shasta, man, in Northern California, when I was coming off the road, man, they had all those fires, man, that melted all the ice off of it. All the ice, because I went into the, the rest there, and they said, well, man, are you going north or south this time? I said, I'm heading south. I says, man, what the fuck happened to all the snow up on Mount Rainier? He said when they had,
They have a town called Rainier in Oregon.
Yeah. But Mount Rainier is in Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And then you got Mount Adams in Oregon, and you got Mount Hood in Oregon too.
Yeah, they're all.
And
both
yeah, and that's, as you know, that's in the Ring of Fire around the Pacific.
Yeah, well, all of them are in the Ring of Fire.
Yes, sir. Because where they got the volcanoes, they got the earthquakes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the Ring of Fire's eastern border is the West Coast.
Yes, sir. That is correct. And it goes all the way up there around to Alaska, like where Anchorage, Alaska got hit with that 10-point quake, man, in 1964.
It was a 9.0.
It was a 9.0. Okay, so that just gives you an idea of how severe that they can get. You say, when they get to rolling, you say, and then the cold part about it is, Brother Che, when these quakes wake you up, you praying to God, man, it don't get more intense than it is. You see?
Yeah,
you feel the slight tremble, then it gets more and more intense. You see?
Oh, the Chilean was even worse. It was 9.5.
Yeah, like the one they had in Anchorage, Alaska. I think that motherfucker there in 1964 hit 10.
No 10s, just 9.
Okay. So, well, the source.
It goes.
And if you want,
hold on, Shabaka. So, the Chile one that happened in 1960, that was a 9.5. The one that you're thinking of, the Prince William Sound, Alaska, that was a 9.2.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Indian Ocean one that happened in 2004 that caused that tsunami.
Yeah.
That was a 9.1.
Damn.
And then the one that caused Fukushima to start leaking, that was a 9.1.
Damn.
And then the one that hit Russia in 52, that was a 9.0.
Damn. Okay, so when they're at that levels there, Brother Che, that's why I'm saying, damn, all the sewage lines are ruined, all the electrical power plants is ruined, and all the water is ruined.
Yeah.
And you cannot drink none of that shit or go try to flush the toilet, man, till at least about a year, because that's how long it's going to take them to repair that shit.
Right. Well, if you've seen the pictures from the 64 quake, everything Bacc is saying is true.
Yeah, and that does what the railroad lines are all twisted up, the sidewalks are all buckled and all that old shit. Yeah. Ooh-wee, boy, I thank God I ain't been through nothing that severe. The most I've been through, man, is a 7.9.
Oh, my God, 7.9.
Mm-hmm. You can check the Sylmar quake, okay, of 1994. Then you could check the, wait a minute. No, the Sylmar quake was 1971. And the, wait a minute. Sylmar quake, 1971. And I'm trying to think the quake they had in 1994.
That was Northridge.
Yeah, Northridge. Yeah, that's the one, man, that woke me up out the bed, and I got up trying to dive under something and then knocked my ass back in the bed, and I just said fuck it and wrote it out because fortunately I was only in a 1-story building. You know what I mean?
Right.
And if it was like 2 or 3 stories, man, I probably would have been no longer here, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, man. You know, it's very exhilarating. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't want to. I'm cool on that.
Oh, yeah. It's very exhilarating. You guys get them in Colorado sometimes.
Little baby ones. Don't get
because
like that.
Yeah, because you guys are on the Continental Divide. Now, you got to keep in mind, some geologists have also theorized that this is how mountains get formed, too, like the Sierra Nevadas, like Mount Rainier, like up in Canada, because Canada gets them, too, and Alaska. Then, of course, it goes...
The Ring of Fire.
Huh?
That's all along the eastern, northeast part of the Ring of Fire.
Yeah, the Ring of Fire. Then when you get off into the western side of it, then that's when you're up there in Russia, China, and Japan.
Yeah.
Because they say that Japan gets them all the time too. They say Japan gets so many earthquakes that they got some of the houses, Brother Che, on rocks or bamboo poles. You see, so when the quake comes, it just sways with it as opposed to tearing down the crib. You see,
right.
Yep. And then, like I said, and then, like I said, so when that there happens, man, and you get your senses back, right? Go steal all the water you can. If you see a truckload of water right there, steal the water and the fucking truckload.
Yeah,
and the truck.
I got to finish this documentary, Shabaka.
Once many of their military careers were over, they were in very desperate circumstances. That was the case for Moses Williams.
Moses Williams dies a year later on August 23rd,
Oh, yeah, Goddess Navi, yeah.
He was buried with his sharpshooter's badge at the Vancouver Barracks Post Cemetery.
Oh, that's where he stretched at, is in Vancouver, Washington.
When war breaks out with Spain in April 1898, Charles Young is stationed at Wilberforce University.
Oh, okay.
The War Department wanted officers to stay at their posts to train the force in case it was a longer war.
But the war is over by July.
So Young wasn't able to rejoin the 9th Cavalry to take part in the actions in Cuba.
He doesn't get to witness the charge of the 10th Cavalry, followed by Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders on San Juan Hill.
During the Spanish-American War, the United States invaded the Philippine Islands. We took Puerto Rico, we took Cuba, we took Guam. It was a time when the president, the politicians thought, well, this is our chance to establish an empire. And so that led to the next war, the Philippine War.
Philippine leader Aguinaldo and his revolutionaries had fought alongside the United States against Spain. They now found themselves the possession of a new colonial master.
The Filipinos were not happy. They wanted their own freedom and they wanted independence.
And so you see that war quickly turning to what's perceived by the Filipinos as a war against the United States.
African Americans were divided in response to the U.S. war in the Philippines. Ida B. Wells argued that
Negroes should oppose expansion until the government is able to protect Negroes at home.
Booker T. Washington agreed.
The Philippine Islands should be given a chance to govern themselves. Until our nation has settled the Indian and Negro problems, I do not think we have the right to assume more social problems.
But an editorial in a Black-owned newspaper, the Indianapolis Freeman, supported the war.
The Negroes must be taught that the enemy of the country is a common enemy, and that the color of the face has nothing to do with it.
The debate among African Americans in the U.S. carried over to Black soldiers on the battlefield. Filipino insurgents distributed pamphlets addressed to the colored American soldier, encouraging them to desert, and a small number defected.
Soldiers like David Fagan decided enough was enough, deserted, and they fought alongside Filipinos against their brethren. Now, they lost the war and they lost their lives, but they did something that is purely an American principle: liberty and freedom. That's why they deserted. And I think that is misunderstood by a lot of people because they, as Black men, knew how America treated them at home.
Charles Young and I Company of the 9th Cavalry arrive in the Philippines on May 16, 1901. Newly promoted to captain, Young's first mission is to lead the Buffalo Soldiers up the Gondara River to pacify a village called Blanca Aurora.
Young set off with I Troop. They were in 3 flatboats being pulled by an armed gunboat.
One of Captain Young's officers, Sergeant H.W. Nicholas, described the mission in a letter.
We were about 12 days going the 18 miles, off and on the boats, fighting our way up the stream on both sides of the river.
They would fight off one ambush, get back on the boats. Tide would go in and out, and they'd be left high and dry because the Gondara River was a tidal river.
Drawing close to Blanca Aurora, Sergeant Nicholas is stranded on a reef with the supply boats.
The insurgents, seeing my unfortunate position, began to pour fire at us. I had only 6 men with rifles. We fought back with all the courage we had in us.
Captain Young had the main body of his force divided on each side of the river, fighting his way forward.
Upon hearing my volley firing, he knew that I had been attacked from the rear. He rushed back to my aid and rescue, drove off the attackers. And after the tide came in, we advanced cautiously along, arriving at Blanca Aurora.
Previous missions to Blanca Aurora had failed, and many U.S. commanders resorted to scorched earth tactics in their fight against the Filipino guerrillas.
Charles Young understood guerrilla warfare. He pacified the village peacefully. He gave them security and supplies, kind of separated them from the insurgents.
Young's deft touch was so successful that his commanding officer promised I Company a plum assignment after the war.
So they got duty in the beautiful city of San Francisco as a reward for their good service in the Philippines.
Charles Young and I Company serve for another year in the Philippines and fight in the decisive Batangas campaign against General Malvar. The Filipinos will not achieve their independence for another 44 years.
Because you got the Presidio up there in San Francisco.
In 1903, shortly after Charles Young and I Company returned to the United States, President Roosevelt visited San Francisco.
San Francisco planned a big parade down Market Street.
And them motherfuckers got hit with a big one, and 3 years later
lead 2 troops of the 9th Cavalry as the honor guard for the president.
It was the first time that Black troops had been included in a presidential honor guard.
There was some troopers in the 9th Cavalry at the time who had charged up San Juan Hill with Teddy Roosevelt, so he knew them well.
After Roosevelt's visit, Young and 2 companies of the 9th Cavalry are dispatched to Sequoia National Park.
Charles Young was the first African-American superintendent of
okay, that's where the big tall trees are
Sequoia
that you could drive
National
through.
Park.
Sequoia had only been established in 1890. In the fledgling days of the National Park System, U.S. Army troops served as park rangers.
They would send troops to the various national parks to make sure that people didn't homestead or people were not poaching.
Charles Young has many accomplishments. Building the first road to the top of Mount Whitney, the highest mountain in the United States, that's incredibly significant. But under his supervision, the first usable wagon road into Sequoia's giant forest was completed, and more work was done in the summer of 1903 than all the other preceding years combined.
During that summer in
Less than
Sequoia,
10 years after
Young
that,
begins courting Ada
Hoover Dam.
Mills, whom he soon marries in a small private ceremony.
Ada Young brought some stability to the life of a bachelor. Young was 40 years old at the time. She was 24, but she was well educated. She was a good match for Charles Young.
Officers like Captain Young had long been allowed to bring their wives to postings. Starting in the late 19th century, enlisted men could bring their families too.
And so there now are communities that develop around these Buffalo Soldier outposts.
The Buffalo Soldiers were often some of the first Black people in predominantly white settlements. this created the opportunity for connection across communities. As Charles Young argued in an impassioned speech in 1903,
"We are part and parcel of the body politic of the United States. All we ask is a white man's chance. Will you give it?"
perhaps the most notorious incident of racial injustice involving the Buffalo Soldiers occurred in the summer of 1906, when the 1st Battalion of the 25th Infantry transferred to Brownsville, Texas. On the night of August 13th, shots rang out and a white bartender was killed. Locals claimed that they witnessed black soldiers firing weapons. White officers attested that the soldiers had been in the barracks and none of their weapons had been fired.
But because they were black, they were all going to pay.
167 African-American soldiers were discharged without honor for a crime that they didn't do.
Many of those soldiers had served with distinction for 20 years.
One of those soldiers was First Sergeant Mingo Sanders, who was partially blinded during his service in Cuba and whose commanding officer called Sanders the best non-commissioned officer I have ever known.
It was Theodore Roosevelt who ordered the 25th Infantry discharged after the Brownsville affair.
The African-American community, which had supported Republicans since the Civil War, was outraged. But Roosevelt refused to budge.
All of the evidence showed that these men were innocent. But because Roosevelt wanted to make sure that his Southern, constituency was okay, that's what he did to those men.
Charles Young faced a more subtle form of discrimination as a black officer in a white officer corps.
The Army was preoccupied with keeping Young in what they felt were appropriate assignments for a black officer. As Charles Young rose in rank to captain, major, this became an increasing problem.
In 1904, the Army solved this problem by assigning Captain Young as military attaché to Haiti and the Dominican Republic. He served for 3 years, gathering intelligence to help the U.S. plan for a possible military intervention on the island. By 1912, the Army had assigned Young as military attaché to Liberia, a West African country founded in 1822 by free and formerly enslaved Black Americans. The descendants of these founders called themselves Americo-Liberians and ruled over a large indigenous population.
Can you imagine in 1912, you're a black man and you're going back to Africa and he finds this upside down world where former African Americans have gone and they've kind of reproduced plantations and they're treating their own indigenous people terribly as slaves, practically.
Young's mission was to train the Liberian frontier force, which was drawn from the indigenous people. He was assisted by 3 other black U.S. Army officers.
At first, he was all behind the mission, but over the 3 years he was there, he began to doubt the motives of the Americo-Liberians who were trying to suppress the indigenous people.
Liberia in 1912 was a dangerous place for Westerners.
Bad food, bad water. There was one U.S.-trained doctor in the whole country.
Young had brought his wife Ada and their 2 young children to the post, but they had to be evacuated due to the lack of safe water and food. Young develops blackwater fever, a malignant form of malaria, which will come back to haunt him later in life. In 1916, Charles Young and the Buffalo Soldiers fight in the last great cavalry campaign in the West.
Pancho Villa was a warlord in northern Mexico at the turn of the 20th century, and our relationship with our southern neighbor was probably even more tumultuous than the one we're experiencing in this generation.
Villa's bandits raided Columbus, New Mexico, and shot up the town, killing 18 Americans.
And the United States was not happy about that.
And so they sent an expedition that at its height reached 10,000 American soldiers into northern Mexico.
Charles Young had been promoted to major while stationed in Liberia. The Army transfers Major Young to the 10th Cavalry to serve under General Jack Pershing in the punitive expedition.
Black Jack Pershing.
Early in the expedition, on April 1st, 1916, Major Young and the 10th Cavalry surprise a group of 150 Villistas near the outskirts of Agua Caliente.
Young had 3 cavalry troops and a machine gun troop.
The troopers of the 10th Cavalry dismount and attack, forcing the Villistas to retreat behind a ridge.
The land of hot water.
The unused machine gun troop
Agua
as covering
caliente.
fire, pinned
Agua,
down
water,
the enemy force,
caliente,
and he
heat.
just overwhelmed them.
Or hot.
Under covering fire from the machine gun troop, Young directs a flanking maneuver, forcing the Villistas to retreat in disorder. Young then leads a pursuit of the Villistas in a running battle until his men and horses are overcome by exhaustion.
It's the first time that I know of that Americans used machine guns in covering fire. And it caught the eye of General Pershing. The punitive expedition saw the advent of a lot of what we know as modern warfare, beyond machine guns. It was the first use of trucks for transporting supplies. It was also the first use of aircraft used as reconnaissance and to carry messages back and forth. So it kind of signaled the end of cavalry and a new era of mechanized modern warfare.
Despite a spirited campaign, at one point the 10th Cavalry even disguised themselves as Mexican bandits. After nearly a year in Mexico, the U.S. Army gives up the chase. They never found Pancho Villa. But Major Young receives high praise from General Pershing. Young is promoted to lieutenant colonel, and Pershing puts Young on his list of officers to command future brigades during World War I.
He was one of the best cavalry officers in the Army at the time.
Charles Young was slated to become a brigadier general. They couldn't have him in command of a division.
If he was used in Europe the way he wanted to, he would have been commanding black troops, but led by white officers. White lieutenant colonels, white majors, white captains, white lieutenants. And at the time, that was a problem for the War Department.
A medical examination board found that Young had a range of health problems related to his long service in the Army.
He was about 52 years old. He'd spent a lifetime as a cavalry officer in the saddle, and he had blood in his urine. He'd had blackwater fever, and that was working on his kidneys.
But due to Young's abilities and the Army's need for the coming war in Europe, another promotion board recommends that the medical problems be waived.
That recommendation went forward to Washington, so then it became a political decision.
President Woodrow Wilson, who was the first Southern Democrat elected to the White House since the Civil War, simply arranged it so that Charles Young was retired before he could assume that kind of position of command.
Clearly, it was a racially motivated decision, politically motivated, influenced by the racism of President Wilson and Secretary of War Baker.
Young makes one last attempt to prove that he's fit to serve.
He saddled up his favorite horse, Blacksmith, and decided he was going to prove his fitness by riding from his home in Wilberforce, Ohio, to the steps of the War Department in Washington, D.C.
Young rides nearly 500 miles over 2 weeks. Despite wearing his Army uniform, he has sometimes refused service at white-owned hotels along the way. By the time Young arrives in Washington, D.C., his ride has been covered extensively in the press, putting pressure on Secretary of War Baker to reverse his decision.
And Baker essentially promised him a command if he'd go away. Young took him to his word, and he went back to Ohio, and Baker never carried through with his promise.
Young never got to serve in World War I.
To show the hypocrisy of the U.S. Army, they recalled him to active duty after the war and asked him to go back to Liberia.
As Young's old friend W.E.B. Du Bois asked,
if Charles Young's blood pressure was too high for him to go to France, why was it not too high for him to be sent to even more arduous duty in the swamps of West Africa?
Essentially, they were sending Young back to Liberia to die. Young loved the Army so much, he couldn't say no.
Young was on a mission to the interior of Nigeria when he was struck again by blackwater fever. He showed up in a hospital in Lagos, Nigeria in terrible shape and died on January 8th, 1922.
Ada Young wrote letter after letter to the War Department saying that she wanted Charles Young's body brought back to the United States.
A year after his death, Young's body was disinterred and brought to Washington, D.C.
Black citizens lined the streets to get one last look at Charles Young's casket as it rode by, trailed by a cavalryman's horse with boots in the stirrups backward, as is tradition for a cavalry commander.
Charles Young was finally laid to rest with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery. Although never officially called Buffalo Soldiers, Black troops served bravely in segregated regiments in World War I and World War II. The Army's policy of racial segregation finally ended in July 1948, when President Harry S. Truman signed an executive order abolishing racial discrimination in the U.S. Armed Forces. But this did not really go into effect until after the Korean War. Black and white soldiers did not fight in integrated units until the Vietnam War. And it wasn't until 1972 that Dorsey Willis, the last surviving member of the Brownsville affair, was pardoned by President Nixon and given $25,000 in back pay. By then, Willis was 87 years old.
Set her down!
The legacy of the Buffalo Soldiers is being kept alive in Seattle, Washington, and throughout the country.
My grandfather was an original Buffalo Soldier. My father was one of the primary founders of this organization, Buffalo Soldiers of Seattle. So on a level of pride, it just allows me to continuously share the legacy that my family has developed around not only the Buffalo Soldiers of Seattle, but also just the Buffalo Soldiers in general.
PJ. This is my favorite horse right here. We have our marching drills, our rifling drills. We have an hour of reading, so studying for Buffalo Soldiers history. They fought for us.
Today, we're going to do a couple events. We'll be doing pony rides, a living history display, and then some mounted drills also. The kids that know me from being an inner urban individual, and then they see me in my cowboy gear, they're just blown away. A lot of times they don't even recognize me. One of the messages that I share with youth is that you have to figure out and learn where you come from. Once I figured out and realized who my lineage was, it helped me to start to understand how I need to present myself and who I am as a man.
The average American doesn't know much about the history of the African-American soldier because they were left out.
Telling the story of the Buffalo Soldiers is a means of reestablishing that which was already there. It's making history ring true.
When we tell the whole story, we see the ways in which Blacks in every generation and every period of American history have been intimate and important parts of American development.
The Buffalo Soldiers paid the price for another generation of Black enlisted men and Black officers to serve in World War I and World War II. We had the first Black Brigadier General in Benjamin O. Davis Sr. We have a Black Secretary of Defense today.
In 1991, in Moses Williams' final resting place of Vancouver, Washington, General Colin Powell dedicated a monument to Williams and 3 other Medal of Honor recipients.
I have been fortunate in that for the entire time that I have been in the Army has been committed to equal opportunity, and the very serious racial barriers had been knocked down by people who came along before me.
The Buffalo Soldiers had the challenge of always fighting on 2 fronts, fighting the enemy that the commanding officer said you're fighting, and then fighting the commanding officers who didn't think that they were even worthy of wearing the uniform.
They are very much part of what we would now call the struggle for rights. Their very being, and sometimes their challenging of racial injustice, is reflective of their being part of that larger struggle.
And that struggle continues today.
We say African American history, But we got to get out of that. It's American history. You know, it is.
Buffalo soldier, buffalo soldiers, buffalo soldier, buffalo soldiers, buffalo soldiers, explorers and mountaineers, have you been praised for your bravery? As you gallantly rode your steed, caravanning sanctuaries with your body.
All right, Shabaka, we got to wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I'm calling it a night, Brother Che, you know, so, because I got to get up tomorrow morning, like I said, but you see, Blackjack Persian, the way I heard it, man, from some old timers in my family, right, who were military men. Mm-hmm. They said, that Blackjack Persian had made the statement of World War I. And I think the U.S. was fighting the Germans again, I think, or the first time they fought the Germans. And Blackjack Persian says, you give me some niggas and I'll make it happen.
Yep, that's what he said. So it's going to,
and that's why they called him Blackjack Persian. But I'm sorry, go ahead.
So this is going to conclude season 11, episode 28 of Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced in conjunction with the Frontline Black News. Join us right after this for Frontline Black News, season 6, episode 19, part 3 continuation. So we'll see y'all then. In the meantime, make sure y'all like and subscribe to all of our platforms. Frontline Black News on YouTube and Facebook. Revolutionaries and on YouTube and Facebook. And Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced on Facebook and Twitter. And on YouTube under the 10 at 1. So appreciate everybody that tapped in. Shout out to Goddess Nobby for coming through. Shout out to Michael for coming through. Shout out to Breeze for coming through. Shout out to Mac and Twin for coming through. And anybody speaking and not speaking. Oh, and Crew. Appreciate Crew coming through as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, so I'm going to bid you good folks a good night. You know, I got a lot of shit to do out here in Sin City tomorrow. It's 68 degrees. It's windy as hell. So hopefully, you know, things will go good for me and what have you, because I got to go out there to the doctor tomorrow. Okay, Chase. Yeah, so I'm gonna call it a night, man, and shut down these computers, man, you know, and save data. All right, so appreciate everybody here checking out Shabaka'S Blacc Experience Enhanced, which was inspired, you know, by the 50th anniversary of the Blacc Panther Party. Started in Oakland, California, and we've been through a lot. We've had, you know, great educators on here, public figures over the years doing this. We also had our haters. But to me, if you ain't got no haters, that means you ain't doing something right. So with that being said, okay, I'm going to bid you all a good night from Sin City. Okay, Brother Che. So when I get back tomorrow, I will look at the replay, man, of what you're getting ready to do on our next show right now on Frontline Black News, you know. And so, and we're putting a lot of work out there. Our numbers is going up. So please, folks, please share these episodes far and wide. Follow Frontline Black News. You know what I'm saying? Check out the hashtag as well, too. Check out the hashtag Resurrection of the Mental Dead. You see what I mean? And then keep us in your thoughts and prayers and what have you. And if you think that there's something, you know, in Black history worth that we need to cover, we'll deal with it, because we deal with Black history from the beginning of time until 10 minutes ago.
And okay. What we did tonight, we went all the way back to BCE time till now.
Yes, sir. You know what I'm saying? Without a doubt. Okay. All right, and shout out there to our brother Jay Dizzle up there in the PMW. You know, hope he's well. You know, what have you.
Okay.
Shout out to crew reality. Shout out to Dynamite. Shout out to Breeze Omega, Jay Militant, and all our well wishers. You know, and also too for all our haters like Regal. And idiots are haters, you know, we're going to give you a shout out as well, too, because when you come up here with your bullshit, please spell the name right. You know.
No, we're signing out from the Mile High Income and illegal migrant for the city. And so
and put them ponies back in a barn.
Bronco at the top of the AFC West. And keep them gators in the bottom of the hull of the ship.
And keep that snow on that mountain so when it starts melting, we can get y'all's water.
Well, we're in a drought, so y'all ain't getting shit. You've been
Oh, man. Oh, hell no. Y'all can't be in the drought. Not that bullshit that I went through the last time I went to Denver, Colorado.
You were warned, and we are in a drought.
And that was far as hell from a damn drought. Shit. Boy, that froze my ass off. Felt like a damn polar bear in the mountains.
Yeah.
So damn cold. Oh, wait a minute. But I think we are getting a little bit of rain that's going to come in off the Pacific. So, all right. So then that means as soon as it leaves California and Nevada, it's going to turn to snow in Colorado. Okay. All right. So that means we could hijack some more of y'all's Colorado River for some water.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So I'll give you a call tomorrow when I get in.
Okay, Shabaka. Have a good night.
All right. You too. All right. Okay.